Wayne, I got your head in there, man. You are going to be right where they're standing. Do you mind? Here, I can change spots. Can you sit here?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Your head's right where the people are.
I'm coming, Dave. That's why I'm coming. I'm coming your way, bro.
Squeeze on through here.
Bring me out, man.
Sit in my lap. Here. Yeah.
Oh, I like them. Me too. I like them.
Oh, that's enough.
Fruity Loop. Yeah. That was really good. Bring the candy to the too.
No, it's my smoking things.
You smoke some?
No, no more.
Don't give me
Not no more.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You want me to go get it?
Is that new?
Yeah. When you pray, yeah, but that ain't what. You gotta go to the front town hall and in the front. Can't come out there.
In the lobby down there?
Over where? She'll do whatever you do. Because her mic ain't working. No. Mine? I'm not sure yet. You never know this crowd. Huh? Somebody like want to throw me under the bus. The family stuff.
So who's that on having tonight?
Good one. Good night now, are you?
Fix that.
They need all of these.
Town ain't got no money for that.
But you're just like,
I only tried to call you 3 times today.
I called her one time. I called her twice. She didn't
Not
answer
at her
both times.
desk at all. Her phone don't work.
Once this morning and once this
I
afternoon.
only tried to call you 3 times.
I had a autographed picture. Christian
Huh?
autographed picture. Him shooting that shot.
I'm coming to see you next time.
Kentucky.
I'm gonna just pop up.
And
Well, if I'm not here tomorrow, I enjoy working with you.
Why wouldn't you be here?
I think it went for like 30, 40 bucks. I thought about buying it for you.
You'll be alright.
Man, there's some cars last night.
Anybody's gonna be gotten rid of, it's gonna be this guy right here. We ain't got
This ain't supposed to be talking. Everybody hung up the phone hoping for us since I got down.
They're not here for you. They're here for them. They're here for them. Which one? Oh, yeah, that's gonna happen. That ain't you, that's right.
Y'all been catching hell.
No, that's different from the young.
Coming up next year. Y'all been catching hell. The rain, hurricane.
I believe it's because of the flood.
Well, they had the one that had for
He just here for
it's hurricane, but then they had the flood. It's not,
I don't talk
blizzard or something. That's standard Kentucky weather. No,
You talk about reach. We got a girl from UNC's here somewhere. I don't know what she does.
I like to go to the
It's different.
It's a car show in New York. Everything you do, you pay. You've been over every autograph all those messes on. When
You got brand new trucks.
He's still thinking around and have Canada as a 51st state.
They look good sitting out there. I bet. Have they got them new Tahoes?
Well, they got the first round of them.
Tommy, be quiet.
About what?
Folks, good evening. We're still having some technical difficulties. It's like chasing old electrical wire in a house. You find one problem, you move to the next. Well, we're on to the 10th problem. We believe we'll have it resolved by next month. But for right now, if I don't cut it out, you'll have nothing but speaker blasts, and then you won't hear much. So please be patient with us while we take some more time to get it fixed.
Well, they hear you coming, maybe I should have called
Evening, board members. Mayor Newborn.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner,
Go ahead, Paul.
Mayor Pro Tem Langley.
Here.
Commissioner Goff.
Here.
Commissioner Connor.
Here.
Commissioner Davis. Here. And Commissioner Newell is excused.
Thank you for the roll call, Mr. Clerk. I would like to welcome everyone who came out tonight to join us and to be a part of a movement here in town. And this particular movement, the citizens are at the foundation of what we do. And again, I thank you for breaking your schedule and coming out. For anyone who wishes to speak, I have a list, kind of unusual list, long list, and I'll probably ask some questions because some of you all maybe want to speak regarding the same issue. And with respect to everyone else's time, it would be unfair to go to each and every one if you're talking about the same thing. So we'll give you time to maybe if you want to step outside, and if you all are in a group, to appoint a couple of people, we'll be glad to hear you. And the reason we're going to be glad to hear you because we don't know everything. We're here for you guys, and we're here for you guys to help us see some things we don't see. We are trained, each one of us, in our respective areas and everything, but we're human and we don't know everything and we make mistakes. Some things we're trying to get right. Every time you see one of us, we're here, we're an extension of you all, regardless of what you may see or read in social media. We're human, we're just an extension. And we have opened our hearts to listen to you guys. So when you come up tonight, everybody's going to get 3 minutes for public comment. And if you haven't signed your name yet, please do so. I'm breaking time to give some. If someone else is left out there that wanted to sign and now you want to, we're here for you. Will there be anyone else?
Is this for the public hearing or public comment?
This is for the public comment. Okay?
Thank you for clarification.
Yes, sir. lack of attendance, we're glad to have you. So we're gonna work this thing so that hopefully, when this meeting is over, everybody can be pretty much happy, all right? We're not perfect people up here, none of us are. We're just trying to do a perfect work for our citizens and our business. At this time, do we have a minister in the house? I think yes, Bishop, would you come up and, do the invocation if you would, please? Bishop William Williams.
Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus, as we come now, come humbly, as we know how to say thank you for another day. Thank you for another opportunity. Thank you for another chance to come to share our love and our concerns for the town of Ayden. We pray now that you will touch each and every one under the sound of my voice. Help us to be able to communicate one with another, to move forward with things that we have on our hearts and minds. We know, God, that you are able. We thank you for what you've done already, and we praise you for what you're going to do. Bless us one by one, and then bless us all together, that we might know that we've been blessed by you. We thank you for our board, and we thank you for all that are attended here. On the mighty name of Jesus, we do pray and we say, amen. 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 And amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any comments or revisions to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, we have, one item under public hearing, item 4A, and I think a lot of people are here for that, that the applicant has requested that we delay this and take it off the agenda this evening for another date. So we're requesting item 4A be removed from the agenda.
No, so nobody's here next time?
This, for those who can hear me, this is a personal request that was made by Mr. McLaughlin. It's nothing we did, we made a request, sent us the request, we did everything we could do to honor it. And here we stand, we got made aware of late in the game, just like you guys did.
Mr. Mayor, which Mr. McLaughlin was this? Because I'm Mr. McLaughlin, I didn't request it. Mr. McLaughlin. Well, I
Not
didn't
you,
request
I'll
it.
make it
Yes, sir.
clear.
I want to make that clear because I think it's unfair to everyone who's here. If
My
the board
mistake.
doesn't-
My mistake.
If the board gives this motion, that's unfair to everybody, it is.
You just thanked us for taking time off to be here.
Wait a minute. I'm presiding tonight. I wish us all well. We're trying to do the right thing. We got hit with this thing as well. Mr. McLaughlin, and is a party affiliate of mine and stuff. I know him as someone else. Nothing deliberately. The only thing we're doing, the best we can, is to bring you what has been given to us. His name is Randall McLaughlin. If that helps anyone? That's what we're trying to do. We're not perfect.
Randall McLaughlin is one of my clients, I don't know that.
That's a misunderstanding of some sort, right?
Mr. Clerk, you have the letter?
No, Mr. Mayor, the name you're reading off is the guy who had the letter to be read.
Right.
He is not the party making the request for the rezoning.
Okay. So we're up. Everybody up with me on that?
No, we're very confused.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
The applicant made a late request to continue, the public hearing of his request.
A
Tell me
ghost?
what the name of that is.
It's on the agenda.
And is
is that the Hardy Family Holdings attorney, or is it the engineer for Hardy Family Holdings? No disrespect to you, but just tell me the answer to the question. I don't want it to be continued if the attorney didn't request it, or the party.
Sir, unless you're the applicant, you can't stop the.
I represent parties that oppose the application. But I don't understand how you can proceed without proper authority, because it can't be withdrawn except by the party. And I don't think the engineer can withdraw it.
I'll still be allowed to talk.
Yeah, I'll try to, just to try and clarify that the applicant for that rezoning on behalf of the party was their engineer, so he was the rightful applicant.
Okay, that's fine.
But can you still hear what the people have to say? Because if people drove for hours, or they're not allowed to be heard.
Public comment.
Let me make this clear. The best of my ability. This was a late call in, evidently. Sonny, I didn't hear anything till I got here.
Right.
They gave me the information as soon as they could to try to get with me. It's been a busy day trying to put this whole thing together.
Yes, sir.
No harm in it. I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know why it's Ayden, the spirit of Ayden is that every time something happens, we don't mean any harm, we're trying to do right. And this, is like the attorney said, it's just one of those things. The assistant manager explained it the best he could.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure that if these people are going to get jerked around, I want to make sure it was by the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Not by some person working for them.
Yes, sir. We
But he
yes, sir.
satisfied me about
If
it.
you didn't let everyone that came, that didn't sign up for public comment, sign up for public comment and get their 3 minutes in. That's only fair.
First of all, is everybody clear what the assistant manager just said? Everybody, any questions about that?
So this is just being continued, it's not going private
No,
or?
it's projected, if I'm not mistaken, for April next month. Yeah.
Public.
Yeah. It's not a private thing. It's one of those things.
So, excuse me, did you say that the person that refused to hold was Randall McLaughlin? No. To hold this process?
But just for more clarification, I think there's two parts to that. The applicant requested the continuance to the April meeting. I think Mr. Mayor is referencing a letter in opposition to the rezoning from a Mr. McLaughlin.
So who's the
So
applicant?
Mike Baldwin was the applicant on behalf of the Hardy family holding. So I think that's where the confusion came in, was that there was multiple correspondence around this, of course, because that's what he wants to talk about. So that's where that confusion came in. So Mr. McLaughlin's letter that we received was in opposition of the rezoning.
So the applicant then withdrawn.
Mr. Mayor, you've got people that have driven 5 to 6, 7 hours to be here tonight. I understand the applicant is requested to postpone this public hearing, but it's not fair to every other person involved in this. This board does not have to grant his request to delay it, and it's not right to wait till the last minute.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Mayor.
Slide down there for a second.
Anybody that wants to speak, to address this, like I said earlier, in the public comment section, you're welcome to even come up now. Make sure that you're heard. Okay?
So you're not going in order of the list, if anybody's wrote on the list, just go up there?
Sir?
So it doesn't matter in the order on the list?
No, he's asking if you want to be added to.
Oh,
the
added
list.
to it,
Yes,
okay, yeah.
that's what he's
People
saying.
have bought anyway.
Maybe someone missed out. We're just trying to be fair as we can.
Mr. Mayor, can I be added about another issue?
No, sir, we'll take them one at a time. If you wanna, speak on another issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay, come on up, can't hardly hear like y'all can't hardly hear.
Yeah, it's a different issue.
Okay.
Being it looks like this is going to be short.
I used to babysit that little joker.
Kurt, I said we don't want. Oh, God. I'm coming that way.
Already got wild, didn't it?
Everybody hear me okay? I'm getting ready to open the public comment, and for those who don't know, we don't go back and forth with our citizens or business people or anything like that. What we will do is take your comments seriously, and if they need to be addressed, and if you need a response, we will respond. Our history would reflect that in a timely manner. That's the way we're gonna do it tonight. Okay? I'm asking you to bear along with us. We're imperfect human beings trying to do a perfect job. Okay? Thank you for coming. At this particular time, I would like to open it up for public comments. Now, these public comments, we're gonna have a formal hearing that'll be next month. Okay? For those who want to address that, there's a whole lot we can do other than listen to you and take notes at this particular time. All right? Need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All right, Francis M. Storm. Let me say this to everyone so we can get on the same page as we are. Tonight we're gonna do a 3-minute thing. The timekeeper would be Mr. Clerk, Mr. Jeremy, and he's gonna cut you off at 3 minutes so that everybody that wants to speak can get a chance to speak. Ms. Daughter, if you would please, state your name.
My name is Frances McLaughlin Daugherty, and I live on my farmland, which is located next to Medlin Chevrolet over on Dennis McLaughlin Road. There's a ditch between our property. His side of the ditch is lower than mine, so with a heavy rain, his parking lot is flooding. The water from my brothers, sisters, nieces drains west to east and comes down the same ditch between my land and Medlin Chevrolet. This is also the path that the 30-some acres in question drains. My side of the ditch washes out and causes big holes on top of my ditch bank. My daddy always said the state did not get the drainage right for all the drain water to go under Highway 11 over to Dennis McLaughlin Road and Jolly Road. These two roads have flooded all my life. My grandparents, Walter and Gladys Stocks, owned the land on the corner where Julia's well is, and now the property that the church is on. In years past, I have seen floodwaters get up to the porch steps of the house. My farmland and Medlin will be flooded if all these apartments and roads are allowed to be built on that 30-some acres. We will be in the same situation that Patty Richardson and her family are in now. Another concern that I have is that at the planning board meeting, the man that was representing the Hardy family was speaking about what kind of housing was going to be there on the land. The town was requiring 2 exits before it could be rezoned. And he said, oh, by the way, I ran into Patricia Pollard at Atlantic Beach. She owns property on Dennis McLaughlin Road, and she is willing to sell it so that it would be the second exit. They could build a road from that property over to Dennis McLaughlin Road. The board then voted 2 against rezoning and 4 in favor. It was then sent to the town board. Patricia is my first cousin, so the next day I sent her a message on Facebook telling her about this. Her reply was that she didn't remember running into anyone at Atlantic Beach about this. This is the first I'm hearing of it, she said. I believe that he should have had something in writing before the board voted from her in writing.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Doyle. Mr. Josh Harris, I think it is,
Adams.
Adams, A.B., okay.
I'm a lefty, I don't write. So, and I got a few pictures here for you guys. I didn't bring 6 copies, but anyway. So, my name is Josh Adams. My wife's Suzanne Adams. We inherited a piece of property kind of downstream of where this lady's talking about. I apologize, I don't remember the name of it. Anyway, it adjoins Highway 11.
Excuse me, Mr. Adams, could you give your address, just so that we have it on record?
My address is up there. The address for the property, I have a parcel number. It's a vacant lot. So, but the parcel number is, can we time that? Like, time out?
Yeah.
But, the parcel number is 21209.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and the ditch she is talking about, it actually runs through one section of our property, which is, it butts up to Highway 11, Dennis McLaughlin Road, and Jolly Road. As that canal, is lack of better terms, what I call it, as it goes across the road, underneath the road, it pretty much runs parallel with my property on the other side. Well, the ditch has not been upkept, the canal's not been upkept, it's in bad shape. But like I said, we inherited it 2 years ago. I try to maintain it as best as I can, but I don't have equipment or financial resources to do as it should. So I've reached out to Southeastern Drainage District to try to turn over right away so they could maintain it, which in my opinion, I'm not a civil engineer, but I think the better flow you have of these canals and stuff for drainage, the better movement you will have of water. As it sits now, it's easy for trash and debris to get built up and back up water. We currently live in the Pines subdivision, and the drainage system for the Pines essentially runs around underneath 102, near where the roundabout is, and goes across and drains into this same canal downstream. But that is one picture I have of the Pines subdivision neighborhood during the storm. But the banks are eroding out on this canal terribly, which is coming in my property. So my question is, what do I need to do? Southeast said you guys were trying to figure some stuff out. Ayden was going through some things, trying to figure out some drainage stuff, and they couldn't advise me any way of what to do, or nor could they take over the property to do it. So my question to you guys is, as I'm sitting here, what do I need to do to preserve this property?
What are you recommending?
Well, I mean, I think if they are able to get it and maintain it as it should be, I mean, I think it would be a benefit to everyone, obviously myself, because I have one picture up here is the worst spot. It's probably like a 20-foot by 30-foot section that the entire bank of the canal has eroded out. And it's just going to keep getting worse. As we've had it and I've maintained it, I've cut the grass on it. The water has gone from, with no rain for a week, the water level was a foot. Now just sitting stagnant, it's at 3 and 4 foot. The property in the Juanita, the government housing, back there, the chain link fence, that's torn down inside of the canal. blocking up debris. I mean, it's poor maintenance.
Mr. Adams, let me say this. What you're expressing to us tonight, the clerk and secretary, that he's recording it, and the way we do things, he'll get back with you. That's why it was important that you give us contact information and stuff. We're not here to make solid decisions tonight on any public comment. We appreciate you taking your time coming out, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a good evening.
Ayden Shelton.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Whitener Shelton. I live at 207 Snow Hill Street. For reference, my property backs up to the Richardson property and next to their farm, directly across from your substation. I've stood in front of you several times addressing the flooding issues, and unfortunately for you, it looks like I'll be back next month doing the same. Here I am again because the town continues to make decisions that will destroy my property. My driveway is collapsing, my ditches are eroding, and there's been water in my crawl space multiple times. Since the construction of Legacy Apartments, which I came before you and begged and pleaded for you not to do what you did, and the amount of water dumping onto my property has nearly doubled. Most recently, I have structural shift in my property, and there are cracks inside of my house. And I have to believe that I know exactly what is happening and why it's happening. Every build that happens in this town or nearby worsens the issue. And it's a known issue that you continue want to build more. It's a sickening feeling to know a home you loved and worked hard for and sacrificed for will be sacrificed in the name of growth for this town. Allowing rezoning and more construction on top of the current issues should be criminal. And anyone who votes for this votes against the people you are supposed to represent and against the well-being of the town. Thank you.
Justin? Is there a Justin out there? Justin John?
Jenkins.
Jenkins.
There you go.
All right, sir.
Good evening. Justin Jenkins here from Ayden, North Carolina, right here in town. And all of you should have a packet on before you. If you don't have one, I don't know if I've made enough copies. Please share along with your colleague. But good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here today as we gather to discuss an important issue that affects our community, which is I'm here tonight on behalf of utility deposits. And so I think that, and I believe that's an action item tonight, and so I think it's perfect timing for me to talk about some of these issues. This forum serves as a platform for open dialogue where we can voice our opinions, share personal experiences, explore potential solutions. And I encourage us to let's engage in constructive conversations on these deposits that they are set at very high levels, and we should consider alternatives to these that will foster greater access to essential services for every resident, whether you're renting in this town, buying in this town, you're going to live here 1 year, you're going to live here 30 years, you're going to live here the rest of your life. And I think that's why I'm trying to be an advocate for the citizens of this community. So real quickly, I know we only have 3 minutes. I want to go over Ayden's structure on their utility deposits, and I'd like to compare it with other municipalities in the area to determine where we're at as a town. So if we look at Ayden's current utility deposit, I'm sorry to the citizens, you guys don't have a copy of this, but I can certainly make you one if you'd like to look at this in the future. Because I did a little fact checking myself, and I come to find out that Ayden's current utility deposit structure is quite different than everybody else's. And I was kind of led to believe this past week that Ayden had just joined in the bandwagon in January, that you guys were kind of had a new deposit structure, and that it was in line with other local communities and municipalities. And I've come to find out that that's simply not the case. And so Ayden's current utility deposit structure, and maybe some of the residents don't even know this tonight. Maybe they're here to talk about high utility bills, but let's talk about the actual deposit. So when you go into the town hall to get your utilities switched over, whether you're renting, whether you're buying, doesn't matter if you have 1 account, 17 accounts, doesn't matter if you've never been here or lived here your whole life, you're going to pay $450 utility deposit. That includes renters, buyers, landlords, account switchovers, etc. It doesn't matter you're gonna get charged $450 across the board. No special provisions, even for customers with current accounts. There's no credit checks, there's no refunds given, there's no credited, it is not credited to your account until the account is closed. Meaning, even if you pay your bill on time for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, if you die in that house and live there 40 years, maybe your heirs will see that $450, but that person will never see it. And then on top of that, you have connection fees of $40 for water and sewer, and $40 for electric. And so I won't spend all my time going over that, but you can see that that is very tremendous. And if you look at other local municipalities, Winterville has a $25 application fee. It has a credit-based deposit, and sometimes no deposit is required with a good credit check. You can look at GUC, also credit-based deposit with a max deposit of $450, refunded or credited within 12 months. Farmville, credit-based deposit, refunded or credited within 12 months. Washington, credit-based deposit, refund or credited with 18 months. So I guess my question is, why are the citizens led to believe that Ayden is just like every other town, or every other municipality with this policy, when in fact the research shows that that is not the case. That is simply not the case. These deposits are outrageous, and I think something needs to be done about it. Something needs to be done about it. You need to have further conversation about what's going on with this. For the citizens of this community, and I think you mentioned earlier about that you guys aren't perfect. You don't, sometimes you make hasty decisions. And I think this is one of those decisions that has been made in haste, and I think you guys need to take a second look at it. Thank you.
I'll come next month.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Somebody stretched through this name all together. Rochin, last name?
Yeah.
Everybody has a different handwriting.
Can't read my handwriting?
A little bit.
More Sheridan Ayden, District 74. I'm actually here for support everybody here for this overdevelopment of the land. We've been fighting the same battle for many years now, and we've got to do something about the destruction of this land. That being said, let's go change the topic here about light bill and everything.
Go ahead.
With all these high light bills and all this destruction of land, why don't we take the money and put it in fixing these roads and everything around here, all these potholes? I'm waiting for somebody to fall in 3rd Street down here any day now, like happened before. But, what's the deal with the light bills here? Can anybody explain to me why they are so high? Who or what's responsible for it? And what can we do about it? Because if we can't do something about it in this town, I'm sure many of us can get together and just decide we'll just get a large group together and say, how about we don't pay it? If it's a small group, they'll say, oh, we're going to turn your power off. But everybody stands up, that can cause a problem. But what is the problem? Can anybody explain?
Probably, but we don't do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
We have protocol as far as the way our meetings are conducted. That's why I said earlier, we'll take your comments, and that's why your address is so important and your contact information, and we'll get back with you.
I mean, you can go set up on Facebook, Ayden News Now, and all of Ayden what's happening. There's a complaint up there every single day. Highest light bills folks are. I've got the highest one here I've ever had in my entire life living out there, and I don't even stay there hardly no more at all. A few days out of the month. Ain't done laundry there since last August. Yeah, and you know how much it costs to do laundry. Don't run anything around there. So why is the light bill so high?
How much you do like this?
This one here is $368.
Oh, you got a good one.
Oh yeah, but yeah, well, I've only got 980 square feet. I don't even run the furnace in the house. Yeah, but this is not running the heater, not running the furnace. This is not doing laundry. It's only 980 square feet, and I'm never there. And I hear other people paying $1,000 and stuff. Went from $400 to $1,000. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, if you get a drop of snow or sleet, it goes over.
Exactly. Yeah, and blame it on the weather or something. You know, we ain't used that much current.
Hey, I agree with you, man, cause look, mine is terrible. I'm not gonna say what it is.
Well, what can we do about it? Something like be done about it. The people's gonna have to rise up and just say, we ain't gonna pay the damn thing.
All these people right here asking for donations and stuff like that. It need to be donated to the poor people that can't pay the light bill.
That's the whole thing, we can't pay these bills.
It's terrible, man. It really is.
Yeah, something's got to be done. How many people here are happy with their light bill? How many people here about the light bill? Got quite a few people here about it. Something's got to be done, right, guys?
Next up.
I'm happy with mine. I like it. I like lights. We'll pay mine.
Chief, could you help me out? You take one off.
You two put it on.
As it already been stated, we are here again to concern the utilities here in the town of Ayden. The paper that you are receiving is one that I put together to try to help find out what we can do to change and to help us pay these bills and everything. I have people here from various places, from St. Paul Church and from Brother Mabel here, and a lot of people that are here that have light bills that is $3,000 in the house.
2,900, tell all that.
Amen. And the churches, Reverend Trudy Robinson, her church, her light bill at the church is right at $800, and she's only there 3 days a week, and that's not full days. That's on Sunday and Thursday. At New Deliverance, I have cut out for 4 years now, only 2 days, 2 hours a day that I'm there. And my light bill this month is $986.50. That's my light bill. Last month, when it was cold in March, I'm sorry, in February, it was cold and wet and everything. That was in January. My light bill was $319.03. This does not add up. I have put together a form here asking the board and the community in the town of Ayden to speak to our suppliers on the behalf of the citizens of Ayden and the community. Our Bishop Glenn Williams is reaching out to your concern about our utility bill. Our bills are increasing beyond our income. This is beginning to be a hardship on many citizens of Ayden. We are requesting that you contact our energy supplier, Duke Energy and Electricity, asking them to look at our bills for the last 3 months and take the lowest bill and let us pay this month. Hopefully by the time that our bill come back to us on April, we will have an answer. Because it just started here now. We finna go as far as we can. My friend, Attorney Malahoma, and the rest of them, his people, are gonna help us find out what is going on with our utility bills. As it's been stated, it's not right, and we are going to make sure that we get to the bottom of it.
Thank you, Bishop, for your comments. This is Brick, Anna Brick.
town of Britt. My husband Sydney's family has had property here in town for nearly 200 years. The highway cut directly through our property, so we have water issues on both sides of the road. A piece of our property is contiguous with the one that was going to be discussed tonight, so I'll postpone that issue for another day. But I wanted to say that I think that the group of you should be commended for your willingness to serve the community. I also think you have a splendid opportunity to really make Ayden a better place than it has been in the last 4 or 5 years, which problems arise. I know that you want a larger tax basis. I know that you plan, that's what you're doing, you're planning. And I hope you are thinking ahead to what is the best place to grow and how. At the point in time that the road went through our property, we tried to get sewer taken out that direction, knowing that that would be a direction the town would probably want to go. And we were told, no, we are going out to the east of town. And so a tremendous amount of money was spent to take sewer out that direction. Well, that hasn't developed. So I think a big plan about where this town needs to be, you all have an opportunity to do it. And water is going to be a problem. So I would hope that you would work very closely with the Department of Environmental Quality and with the Corps of Engineers. I think there are probably funds available from grants. I know the town does not have any extra money. I understand that. And that's why you might build a lot of apartments in the West, just to get more tax bases. The other thing I worry about is sewage. I know that in developing the area, you've got to have sewage. And if you're gonna add 500 toilets to the basis, and you're gonna add 800 washing machines, where's that water gonna go? Is the Grifton plan that Ayden has going to take care of those things? And I think before anybody gets anything rezoned, you as a group are the best capable to analyze and get people on committees to work with you, so that these are not the problems that people come to face you with. And I commend you, and I thank you for the opportunity for me to speak with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm hearing people, sometimes I struggle. I can't believe I've got to go behind Ms. Hannah. That was really good. And I am going to say that I appreciate everything y'all do too. And as a matter of fact, things have been so hard lately for us. I know they've been hard on y'all. And I have had y'all in my prayers because it is difficult. But I want to say that the people of the town have been up here and addressed this board numerous times about zoning requests. And the one thing I can say is every one that I've been involved in, that I've seen, that it has come to pass that the people in this town that came up here and spoke were right. And it ended up being a problem. So it has cost the town a lot of money in mistakes, and it's cost the town a lot of money in lawsuits. So I want to ask that everybody really be smart and take a deep breath before we move forward with any more rezoning. It's no secret that there's several problems, serious problems, from the mismanagement of drainage ways and watersheds to finances in town. I want to just remind the board, before anything comes before you, just remember that y'all are elected by the people for the people. And they're concerned about the direction that this town's going. If you look behind me, that should scream loud and clear that people are concerned, and rightfully so. It's your duty to do the right thing by the people. You know, when the town's broke, someone's failing on their fiduciary responsibility. We have we have people moving out of our town because of the drainage issues and their homes flooding. You know, it's my understanding that the town paid $15,000 for a study and then opted not to exercise the result of the study to save these homes. And so the people moved. That should move right into the neighboring town. Just let them. Y'all, that is not being smart. That is absolutely irresponsible. Everybody in this room knows that mistakes have been made, but it's time to say, it ain't about pointing fingers. It's not about saying you made a mistake, you messed up, the both of y'all messed up. It's about saying, we got some problems and let's work together to fix them. You know, the mayor's slogan, what's the mayor's slogan? Working together works. But my question is, when are y'all gonna start working together with us? Because we haven't had it for a long time. This rezoning request that just got bumped for tonight, the residents of this community are overwhelmingly against it. Despite the insufficient infrastructure, the residential land use only, now y'all follow me on this, residential land use only contributes 77 cents on the financial resources per dollar's worth of services that it receives. Commercial and industrial land use contributes $2.76, and agricultural contributes $1.62. To leave that piece of land as agriculture, we would be better off making more money off of it than if you're switching it to residential, according to this study. And it's a local Pitt County study. So, y'all, the town's restricted to how much that we can grow. Don't we want to be smart about growing in the way that's going to be the most profitable for us? That's the only way we're going to get out of the hole that we're in. If we keep giving away land that we're only getting 77 cents to a dollar back on, or losing 33 cents a dollar, then we're never going to get ahead. You know, my last thing is that I came up here and begged.
Time is up. Thank you. Appreciate it. Josh,
Josh Richardson, 280 Bowen Circle. I'm gonna save this for next month evidently, but I will just touch on a couple things. The town's watersheds are compromised, severely compromised. I understand why the town's attorney won't let this board discuss it right now, but the people know. And any decision to continue with development prior to a long-term plan being in place is absolutely negligent. And it doesn't matter what type of development it is. At this point, this town's drainage is compromised. I'll follow up with this next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Megan Weather. Yes, ma'am, state your.
My name is Megan Weatherington, and I live in Allen Park off of Ayden Golf Club. As many of you know, our subdivision is fairly new. It's less than 5 years old. Our road, we live on Thomas Trail. We're having an issue with flooding. I've spoken to Mr. Smith multiple times. I've spoken to him once, and I've left him multiple messages. And I've not heard anything back. When I say flooding, I don't mean, oh, it's just a little bit. I mean, it's halfway up into my yard type flooding. And I've not heard anything back about how to get this fixed. The state got thrown under the bus as far as they were supposed to fix it. Well, my area has been annexed into city limits. State's not gonna fix something that's supposed to be under city jurisdiction. I would like it fixed. Not only that, but the area across from us, if you're coming around the curve, that canal there is collapsing. It is affecting one of our neighbors. Their yard is collapsing into that canal. They have reached out to Mr. Smith. And again, we have not heard anything because we as an HOA are trying to figure out how we need to get this fixed and taken care of, and we've not heard anything back. We're just trying to figure out how we need to go about what we need to do about getting this stuff fixed. I have even volunteered to Mr. Smith on a voicemail to go out there and show him exactly where we're having the issues and what I personally think could potentially be done to help with some of these issues. My husband was even out there and saw the same issues that we had. We only have 2 drainage areas on our road. Everything comes down and puddles right there on our road in one area. So you have water coming from another road, draining back down, coming in from the cul-de-sac. You have a lot of water coming in into one little area and only 2 drains there, and that's it. Something needs to be done, not only about that, but about the canal across the road. And if I can, I would like to give the rest of my time to Miss Patty if she wants to finish up.
Okay, so I came up here and I literally begged, and other people begged this board not to rezone some commercial property, which we have little of, to residential property on Highway 11 a few years back. The board went right on, it wasn't y'all, but they went right on and they rezoned it. The developer of these apartments have now sold those apartments for $18 million. So what I want you to ask yourselves is, before you vote on any rezoning, is how much of that $18 million has the town of Ayden seen? And then I want you to ask yourself one more question. How much is it going to cost the town of Ayden to fix the problems they created?
For your comment, Stephanie Morgan. Stephanie out there?
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Morgan. I live at 4764 NC Highway 43 South, Greenville. I own parcel 21211 off of 0 Dennis Longhorn Road. I inherited that property when my grandmother passed away. It actually adjoins on 2 sides the property that is trying to be developed. I do have concerns about flooding and the effect that this development may have on my property. I would like further information, I guess, on drainage and things of that nature, and what this development intends to do about water flow and things of that nature before they proceed to build an apartment complex on the property that's adjoining mine. I do believe that I have a right to know how that's going to affect my property value moving forward, how that will affect my land. Currently I lease that property. If the property is flooded, that will affect whether or not I'm able to lease that property further. I think all the landowners surrounding this property have a right to know how this development will affect their properties moving forward. And I think that information should be freely given to us. I don't think that we should have to beg for it. I don't think that, we should have to fight for it. I just think that it should be freely given to us. And I think that should happen before, we're kind of hit with this whole rezoning and what have you. So anyhow, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. This is Pam Lockerbie.
Hello, Pam Lockerbie, 4245 Park Avenue. Urbanization is a driving force behind economic growth and societal progress. New homes, businesses, and infrastructure promise prosperity and modernity. However, there is a growing urgent need to reconsider how we approach development, especially in areas vulnerable to flooding, like here in Ayden. As towns and cities expand, we have to stop and reassess. Is the development worth the risk of the devastation? The truth is, unchecked development is a major contributor to flooding. And if we don't take immediate action to halt and rethink these projects, we will be left with a community vulnerable to catastrophic environmental and economic costs. As we continue to expand, more and more natural land is transformed into impermeable sources, concrete, asphalt, and buildings. These surfaces prevent water from being absorbed into the ground, increasing the amount of runoff during heavy rains. We've already witnessed this with the legacy apartments. We witnessed this with every heavy rain. I have no less than a foot of water beside my home with every heavy rain. To the point the town had to come repair a storm drain in my yard because the ground was sinking. Storm water has nowhere to go but into drainage systems, rivers, creeks, neighboring lands, and streets. Our systems were not designed to handle the volume of water generated by today's continuous modern development. As a result, flooding has become more frequent and more severe, affecting not only the environment but also the lives of residents. We also must stop development over natural and historic drainage ways and allowing developers to fill in ditches. It is clear that the current trajectory of development is unsustainable. As we continue to pave over natural land, we expose ourselves to more frequent and devastating floods. The solution is not to double down on development in flood-prone areas, but to rethink our approach to growth and prioritize flood-resilient practices. We must halt developments in areas that are high risk of flooding and causing flooding, and instead focus on sustainable development practices that work with nature, not against it. This includes preserving wetlands, floodplains, increasing green infrastructure, implementing stormwater management systems that allow rainwater to be absorbed back into the ground rather than flowing into streets and drainage systems. Urban planning must evolve to prioritize resilience over short-term gain. Developing in flood-prone areas not only places unnecessary risk on residents, but also commits future generations to a cycle of constant recovery. We need to ensure that future growth is safe, sustainable, and beneficial for the long-term health of Ayden. Urban development undoubtedly brings many benefits to town, but it also poses significant risks, particularly when it comes to flooding. By understanding the relationship between development and flooding, we can adopt more sustainable practices that protect the environment, safeguard public health, and minimize economic issues. Moving forward, it is critical for our planners, our government, our community to work together to create a resilient town that can weather the storms for tomorrow, both literally and figuratively.
Thank you. Chris Cannon.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the board, town manager, town attorney. I just wanted to speak on the Blunt Street Cemetery. There was an issue down there. It's been probably 7 or 8 months ago now, where my wife went to her mom and dad's grave, and she realized there was a tombstone missing. I approached one of the board members and talked to him, and he investigated and found that tombstone down at the town building on a concrete asphalt pile where they tore up the road or curbing or whatever they had to do. So I was promised, this tombstone's been there since 1934. It's an Ida Tripp. She probably had no family. So I was promised there'd be a new tombstone put there. So I kept watching, kept looking. Finally one showed up. It had been washed and cemented back together, which is not going to last. And so when we were looking at this situation, we were trying to see if it was the right tombstone that they had found. So my wife had a picture that showed the footstone. So I went down there with a shovel and I dug around and found that footstone to make sure that it was the same name or initials as that tombstone was, and it was. But the road around the cemetery, they were driving over. There's no sense in that in our cemetery. And that tombstone should be put back new or better than it was when it was tore up. It should have never been took down there to start with. So, I don't know where to go with that. I just wanted to make the board aware in case they weren't aware of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So, thank you all again. I'd like to say this. There's been some talk amongst the board members. Matter of fact, I had a conversation today with one of our board members, and we hear you all, and we're at the point where we know serve us all if we create some committees pertaining to the water runoff. And everything that you heard here tonight talked about. We're not gonna go on a deaf ear. And some of you all that's sitting out here tonight, hopefully, those that know some things that we might not know, hopefully you will join in. It hasn't been voted on, but myself as mayor, I believe in fairness. Whether y'all believe that or not, that's up to y'all. I believe in fairness, and I know we can be better when we pull things together. As I told you earlier, we don't know it all. You guys don't know it all, but working collectively, working together works. And as mayor, that's what I stand for. That's what I believe in, and that's what I'm gonna stand on. So when these boards come open, and hopefully I get the vote I need to get it going, it's been brought to mind, just about everything you guys mentioned. So I know that we aren't up here with deaf ears. We're just trying to put things together and together right, and to prevent us from continually making some mistakes, which we have. I'll be the first to admit, we're not perfect. We need you all. We're not your enemy, but we need to put this thing together right. You mind if I use your name? Commissioner Connor? We had a conversation. As a matter of fact, we talk, all of us talk up here. Maybe talking to Commissioner Goff or Mayor Pro Tem, Coach, you know, we do that. We know we don't have all the answers, so we're gonna be reaching out for you guys that have the big ideas that just might work. And what you did helps us, but like one-on-ones with us, say maybe we had a committee of 5 people where you can sit down, you're not in a rush, you're not doing what you did tonight, but you're just talking to us. I'll be surprised if everyone knows who their commissioner is that's out there. That's always a start. We'll listen. We can't read minds. So if y'all talk to us, we'll listen and try to do the right thing. Have we always done the right thing every time? No, we haven't. But we're willing to do what's right if you're all willing to work with us. So hopefully, in the next few weeks or so, we'll have these boards ready. And we'll be reaching out to you, and please do join. And in the meantime, if you want to talk to any of us on the board, you know, you don't know our number, go to the website. We have all this stuff up there. We have a lot of information up there. As a matter of fact, our charter's up there. What some people call the Constitution of Ayden, North Carolina. Because there may be some things that you all may think we can do as commissioners and mayor pro tem and mayors and that we probably can't do. Some things we can. But kind of like stepping on our shoulders and say, hey, we take this way. We're open for that. We are Ayden. And I do believe this, bitches, that working together works. But it's gonna take all of us, once we decide to work together, that go for y'all and go for us. Okay? So, just want you to know you haven't wasted your time tonight. And, we do have an open door policy. Again, if you need to talk to me and the commissioner, whatever, the manager, just try to communicate with one another with respect. We know that, and if I were in some of y'all's shoes, I probably would feel some of the same way, not, you know, just being honest with you. We're an extension. So bear with us, work with us. We haven't forgotten you, and we certainly, under this administration, we're not going to forsake you. Okay? Thank you all again for coming out. Yes, sir. And you know we can't go back and forth, Bishop.
Mr. Maybury lights have been, he's gonna be turned off tomorrow with that $3,000 light bill. We ask you all to please help him and let him keep his lights on. Please. Thank you, sir.
Hold up. Thank you for your comment, Bishop, first of all. Hold up. Now, everybody heard what Bishop Glenn Wheaton just said. Last time I talked to Mr. Maybury, I asked him, and I think some members of this board know that. Say everything's all right, appreciate you doing what you do, everything's all right, and I left it with him. So now I'm hearing different. Okay, we're not perfect, but I'm hearing different tonight. Go ahead, Mr. Maybury. I don't want to go back and forth, but I have to state the facts as they are.
I got a phone call this afternoon, I'll be turning off at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I paid my bill and they said everything all right, they can work with me. And that is what I had to hear.
All right, sir.
Please don't turn the lights off. Please do not turn the lights off.
Hold on. We're gonna do this thing decently and in order. Thank you, Mr. Baker, for your comment. I do know, the last time I talked to Mr. Baker, I guess he's what you tell me, everything's all right. Maybe he was told that. Probably was. I don't know, we have some problems. And the only way to work with them is to get down to, work. Let me, I will personally, Mr. Baker, get back with you after I talk with my board about this and the manager to see what we can. Okay?
Yeah. Well, the debt, $3,000 just for 1 month? Just for 1 month? You'd like to be, you said $3,000, right?
It was, sir?
Is that just for 1 month?
Yes, sir, they said I had a water leak, so they charged me $1,300 for sewer and $900 for water, and everything else lined up to $2,900.
All right, I would have Mr. Baker, I would have our management give you a call in the morning. Hopefully you can come down to whatever you do. I don't know what they know. That's not my wheel.
I paid what they asked me to pay, I paid.
I understand, sir, and I respect that. But you need to talk to somebody that knows more about this than I do. I took your word for it, I believe your word, and I thank you for expressing what you said.
I sure do.
That's a problem. And I'll pass it along to management tonight. This is our management. And we're gonna see what we can work out, if we can work out anything now. It's not pressure. Thank y'all, thank you, sir. Thank y'all for coming. You don't have to leave now. You have to not leave now. Y'all work well with me.
I think she's got a question right here. Mr. Mayor, I think she's got a question.
As far as the public hearing is now over. I gave everyone ample time to prepare it, so we have to move along. We have a lot on our agenda. Thank you all.
Take care. Have a wonderful day.
We're still in session now. Just be fair for those coming up to speak.
Mr. Austin, thanks for here from Thompson Price Scott to deliver the fiscal year 24 audit.
Okay. You ready to show up?
Can you pull up the presentation?
Good evening, Mr. Austin. Good evening. Now I have you close. Someone close the door like that. Tell everybody if you want to come in. Tell them come on in.
Good evening. My name's Austin Eubanks. I'm the audit manager at Thompson Price Scott and Adams in our Wilmington office, and we had the pleasure of auditing the town of Ayden for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. So looking at some required communications, our responsibilities fall under the generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, OMB Uniform Guide, and the State Single Audit Implementation Act. We were able to design and provide reasonable assurance that finance statements are free of material error and compliant with government regulations. We were also able to perform all our planned procedures and have complete access to both management and required information. There were some significant pieces in internal control this year that I will talk at the end of the presentation. There was no adoption or changes in the county policy that affected the Town of Ayden this fiscal year. Management judgments and accounting ethics were being reasonable, as they should be. The financial statement disclosures were neutral, consistent, and clear. And there were several significant audit adjustments or unrecorded differences, and that happened to be inventory and accruals that we made for the town. We did not have any disagreements with management. Management's representations given to us. No prior retention issues. We did not have any difficulties about performing the audits. We did not find any irregularities or illegal acts, and no other findings or issues otherwise. So getting straight into the numbers with the general fund, you total revenues and other financing sources, you collected $6,178,000. Of that $6.1,700,000 was a transfer. Total expenditures and other financing uses was $6,119,000, giving you a positive net change of $59,261 for the general fund. One of the metrics that OGC likes to utilize is something called the undesignated fund balance. And so for a town of your size, they want that to be a 34% minimum threshold, and that would have been $2,080,000, that minimum threshold. However, your unassigned fund balance was $1,304,000, putting your fund balance available in the general fund for expenditures of 21.63%, so well under that 34% threshold. Your tax collection rate overall was 99.21%. So this is operating summary for the last 4 fiscal years, and as you see in 2024, your operating revenues was $5.4 million, and your operating expenditures was $6.1 million. So well under expenditures outdid the revenues by a good margin this year. However, the past 3 fiscal years, we had pretty good margins. So moving on to your top 3 revenues for the general fund operated. Your unrestricted intergovernmental, this is your sales and use tax. You collected $2.1 million. That made up 39% of your total revenues for the general fund. Your ad valorem taxes, you collected $1.8 million. That made up 33%. Sales and services, you collected $896,000. That made up 17%. All the revenues combined was $597,000. That's your permits and fees of $324,000. Restricted intergovernmental, which is some grant money of $195,000, and investment earnings of $77,000. So looking at your general fund operating expenditures by department, your public safety department led the way of $3,044,000 being spent and made up 50% of all general fund expenditures. Transportation department, we had $840,000 expenditures and made up 14%. General government, $831,000 at 13%. All other expenditures is $1.4 million. That's your environmental protection department, $259,000 being spent. Economic physical development, $250,000. Your cultural and recreation department spent $660,000, and you had some debt service fees of $233,000. So let's look at your analysis of fund balance for the general fund itself. Been pretty steady the past 2 years, from $2.3 million in 2021 to $2.7 million in 2024. However, $1.3 million is unrestricted. You can spend that at your discretion. However, you'd have $1.4 million of non-spendable, restricted, or assigned, and that's your state stabilization of $1.1 million, and your power bill expenditures of $288,000. Of course, that has to be spent on the town streets. So again, looking at that one metric that I mentioned earlier was the fund balance available as a percentage of general fund expenditures. This is not really what you want to see. 25%. Again, that minimum threshold is 34%. In 2021, it was at right at 26%, and it has declined to 21.63%. And basically what this means is, if you would not collect any more revenues as of June 30th, 2024, you would only have 2.5 months of operating expenditures of cash on hand that you could spend for normal expenditures on a monthly basis. Again, minimum threshold is 34%, and OGC does give out some metrics of like-kind similar units, and the average is 63%. So moving on from the general fund to your CDBG Catalyst Fund, total revenues of funding sources was $528,517. You did have expenditures of $527,000, giving you a positive net change of $677. Bringing that net position from down to $237,694 to the negative. So looking at all your non-major funds combined, your total revenues and other financial sources is $228,000. Your total expenditures is $280,000, giving you a negative net change of $51,570. Bringing that net position down from $576,000 at the beginning of the fiscal year down to $524,000. So moving on from your governmental funds to your proprietary funds, starting off with your electric fund, you did have operating revenues of $13,937,000. Your operating expenditures was $13,731,000. Of that $13.7 million, you did have depreciation of, which is a non-cash item, of $684,000. You had operating income of $206,555. You did have some non-operating revenues of $264,496. And some transfers to other funds which went to the general fund of $700,347, giving you a net change overall of a negative $229,000. You did have a prior period adjustment to reinstate some inventory of $1.2 million, bringing that net position to $7.1 million. So let's move on to your water and sewer fund. Your operating revenues collected $4,588,000. Operating expenditures was $3,479,000. You did have depreciation expense, again, non-cash item, $645,000. You bring your operating income to $1,079,000. You did have some non-operating revenues of grant money of $1.6 million that was included in that $1.8 million of non-operating revenues, bringing that net change to $2.9 million. Bring that net position from $8.9 million all the way up to $11.8 million. So moving on to your stormwater fund, your operating revenues was $128,144. Operating expenditures was $53,276, bringing your operating income to $74,868. Net position going from $133,000 up to $208,000 for the fiscal year. So looking at your cash on hand as of June 30th, 2024, general fund, you see red is restricted funds of $288,217. That's again that power bill money. You did have unrestricted cash of $1.5 million for the general fund. Non-major funds, $754,000 restricted, $228,000 of unrestricted. Electric fund, $3.9 million is unrestricted and $364,000 of restricted funds. The water and sewer fund, you did have $293,000 restricted and $1.5 million unrestricted. And the stormwater utility fund was $192,000, 100% of that is unrestricted. So moving on to those financial statement findings and significant deficiencies. This is material weakness was 2024-001, a lack of oversight of accounting records. Accounting records should be properly reviewed to provide reasonable assurance that transactions are handled appropriately. This is a repeat finding for 2023, and towns lack oversight over key accounting areas of cash receivables and payable reconciliations to the general ledger. And we do recommend each area should have proper oversight and controls in place to ensure that accurate and timeliness of reconciliations are being performed. So 2024-002 is a failure to perform reconciliations of significant accounts, and this is a significant deficiency. This is also a repeat finding of 2023, and the inventory accounts receivable and accruals were not reconciled to the general ledger in a timely or accurate manner. Recommendation is the town should obtain additional training with the software vendor and evaluate the usefulness of the system. And moving on to the 2024-003 is a non-compliance with the budget. And this is a significant deficiency and a non-compliance issue. And the general statute states that no obligation may be incurred and a function accounted for in the fund, including the budget ordinance, unless the budget ordinance includes an appropriate authorization. The obligation of unencumbered with balance remaining in an appropriation sufficient to pay in the current fiscal year sums obligated by the transaction in the current fiscal year. So basically what that means, and that's a bunch of jargon, you expended more money than was appropriately budgeted for. Because the county exceeded budget expenditures in the electric fund while the budget amendments were not adopted. And this is also a repeat finding from 2023. And we did have another material weakness, was a prior period adjustment. This basically was beginning net position was restated for an understated inventory in prior years that was not properly presented in the 2023 financial statements. Total financial statements, basically it was inventory that had not been accounted for in previous years. We wanted to ensure that the inventory was appropriately presented on these previous year's financial statements, and that caused your net position to go up by right at $1.2 million. And this is some, performance indicators of concern that is brought on by the LGC. So you do have to submit a response within 60 days of this board meeting. Each board member must sign it and, send it in to the LGC. Again, that was that fund balance available as a percentage of general fund expenditures. Next slide, please. Again, 34% is that minimum threshold, and you were at 21.63%. So they want you to ensure that you do need to meet that 34% minimum threshold. There was this audit was late. Budget violations need to be addressed. There's significant and material weaknesses I just stated need to be addressed. And same as previous fiscal years, the electric transfers there was also a violation of 159B-39 was electric funds transfers. Any questions, concerns?
Any questions for Mr. Austin? Very good. No questions? Everybody has any questions? We understand, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
You can come on up, I'm real quick. I just wanted to mention about the retail survey. It's North Carolina Public Power Retail Customer Survey. It's running from February 25th through April 14th. It was free to the town. We're trying to get some feedback. A lot of it is about public power, but there is a way that you can get feedback, and so we are hoping to encourage some more participation. So we want everybody to go out. The link has been shared numerous times on social media and at various locations in town. If anybody has any questions about it, they can reach out to me. And is it okay to move to the next?
Yeah, let me say this, to piggyback off what you said.
Okay.
I guess everybody heard Ms. Hall. In addition to what she said, a lot of people, put it to make a long story short, electric cities will provide us free of charge. Those who feel that their home doesn't provide or the hot water heater, you don't know how to set it, all of this stuff, free of charge. So if you want to, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but you can reach out and have that done. They do some professional auditing to make you aware of exactly what your problem is, okay?
The energy audits, yes, they can contact our office and we can get those scheduled.
Okay. Y'all hear Ms. Hall? I know she's talking this way with no mic. Okay. Y'all hear okay? Everybody good? Okay.
Do you know how many people have completed the survey? When I did, it was only 44 people.
I reached out today, but I didn't get final numbers, but I'm hoping there was a push. Jeremy's been very helpful with getting it out social media. We really like to hear some of the commercial businesses to respond as well. So they have another set of questions. But yes.
I'm sorry.
Comment, please.
Yes, ma'am.
And also in light of all of this, along with Commissioner Connor, I also took the survey. It only takes a few minutes. Please go online, take that survey. It helps us, it helps elected cities in order for us to know what's going on and how we can help our community get our utility rates in order. So we need your input, so please do that.
And moving on, I would like to introduce Ms. Alicia. She's taken our, our information from Tyler in our last year's financial audit, and she wants to talk with you all about the financial health and rate considerations for the Town of Ayden water and sewer system. And since we're working on budget, she's offered to come talk to us, so I'll turn it over to her.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. And then you have the slides, you'll just control. Yep, no worries, you're good. I can just at least introduce myself. My name is Alicia Fraser. I'm a Senior Project Director with the Environmental Science Center at UNC. We sit within the School of Government. And one of the things that we do as a center is work with small utilities across the state small water and wastewater utilities to help them understand their finances, think about rates, talk about rates, that sort of thing. And so I've been working with the town for a handful of months now to help try to kind of make sense of the numbers and give you guys some more information about your rates as you go into budget season and rate making season. There's no problem. Okay. Technology's wonderful. So it's not. We can go ahead and just dive right in since and I'm gonna try to be as precise and efficient as possible given the time already. So the first thing that we tend to look at is a financial health checkup, and so we're looking at benchmarks. And this is all, I appreciate the audit background, this is all focused on your water and sewer enterprise funds. So exclusively looking at that, not your general fund or any of the other funds. So I'm gonna run through these. Let's skip this and just start right in on the benchmarks. I'll go through them one by one. So the first one we tend to look at is the operating ratio, which basically is, do you have enough money coming in to cover your expenses? And so we try to look back at a couple of years, so you can see this 5 years here. I'm pleased to see the trend in the water and sewer fund. There's been an increase, and so what I want to see is kind of holding steady around bringing in sufficient revenues to cover expenses. The next one, I'm going to blow through these, Jeremy, so great. The next one is your debt service coverage ratio. Again, happy to see this trend. This is basically, do you have enough money you need to pay your debt? And so, in addition to your expenses. So, you guys are sitting above the target of 1.2, you're at 3 right now. This is a snapshot, so it's not perfect, but it gives us kind of a sense. And again, like to see this trend of getting above that target. Your quick ratio is also a snapshot in time, so this is on the day that the auditor is collecting these numbers. This is, do you have enough cash on hand right now to pay all of your liabilities? This one's a little bit wonky because we've had to zoom out with the most recent year. So you guys were kind of hovering right around that target. It's increased quite a bit. You've got very few liabilities in this last financial audit. So we could dig into a little bit more about why that is, but generally I want to see positive, so that's great, but there might be something else kind of happening here. And then I think this is the last one here is days cash on hand. We're in the right direction again in this trajectory, so this is just letting us understand if you did stop collecting, if people stop paying their bills tomorrow, how long would you be able to keep your water and sewer fund running? And you guys are sitting right around that 6-month mark, which we like to see overall. There's no kind of hard and fast rule. These are subjective targets that we really aim for. So you've got some cash, that you're able to kind of maintain the fund for a little bit if needed. Oh, sorry, the last one, the more important one, is the percent of capital assets depreciated. So this isn't auditing number, this is a financial number, this isn't your boots on the ground understanding exactly what's been depreciated. And this is, the way the graph goes is kind of opposite what our minds think about. So the lower the number, the less depreciated your assets are. Nope, am I turning that around? I'm turning around the other way. This is why I always get turned around on this one. So when your number is lower, that means fewer of your assets are depreciated. So the lower you get, the newer your system is. And so we try to aim for about 35% of your assets depreciated. You guys are sitting at 38. This is not uncommon. This is very, actually I would say pretty good for utilities across the state, is sitting around that 38%. But of course, our goal is to try to get some of the system addressed, right? Some of that infrastructure addressed. And you guys have made some progress in this current year, which is great to see. But we want to kind of keep trying to replace infrastructure and address those infrastructure needs to get that number a little bit lower. All right, so the kind of takeaway from those couple of metrics that we use, again, this isn't the be-all, end-all, but based on some of those metrics that look like 2022 was kind of a tough year, but that you guys have really come back. And so what I want to see is kind of stabilizing a lot of those metrics, trying to get them kind of normal up across a couple of years, and then really starting to think about the depreciation and your infrastructure needs on the ground. And that's really kind of the other piece. All right, so I like to use that as a preface when I have these conversations about rates, so you have a sense of where you guys are from this kind of objective, not really knowing kind of what the situation is on the ground financially. You guys look like you're in a solid position right now, which is great to see. And my encouragement would be to continue being proactive about rate setting to try to sustain that system financially. So I'll do a little bit of background. We do lots of trainings on this, so I could come in here and talk to you for hours on this, but I'm going to try to keep it short. So the first thing that I just want to go through, we can keep going, is just thinking about what are good principles for rate setting. So key considerations, we want rates to be simple. If you can't understand them, then your customers can't understand them. So thinking about how you can simplify them to make them really straightforward and easy to understand. They should be based on expenses. There is some kind of sense of based on gut, but they really should be based on expenses. So looking at how much does it cost to maintain your system, and therefore how much do you need to be charging to match that cost. They should really be covering your full cost. That's your number one goal. The utility should function as its own enterprise. It's called an enterprise fund for that reason. It should be self-sustaining. And right now you guys are, which is great, but you have to be able to cover those full costs. So really thinking about rates in that way. And then another piece that I think has come to light, especially here tonight, is thinking about fair, affordable, and equitable. So considering that as you develop rates. Things to avoid, which is kind of opposite of most of these, super complicated, frozen in time. This should be an iterative process. You might not get it right this year, but it should keep, you should keep working on it to try to get it better. Preferably not based on political desires, right? I know y'all are elected, at least most of you. So I know that that's a consideration, but really thinking about what's, what does this town need in terms of rates? The other thing I just want to flag is based upon neighbors. We talked about that a lot. There's a gentleman up here comparing the deposit to neighbors, and that's absolutely legitimate, and it's really helpful to have that research. But I also want to emphasize that every system's unique. So the Town of Ayden has its own water and wastewater system, and your needs are going to be different than Winterville's, than Greenville's, than any of their neighbors. And so yes, it's good point of comparison, but also to make sure you understand your system because it is different from everyone else's system. Based on the topography, based on your customers, based on the age, right? There's lots of different factors. So just think about that as you're setting your rates. Ultimately, good rates can help provide enough funds to cover public health, environmental concerns, support your local policies and priorities, communicate with customers, and allocate costs in an intentional and fair way. I don't think any of that's new for you guys. We'll skip that. Let's keep going. All right, so the other thing that I like to talk about when we talk about rates are objectives for your utility. I could come up here and I could give you, I think you should do this, but maybe that's not helpful because that's not actually what your town needs or wants. So I want you guys to think about your rates and the priorities for your town. And so, like I said, the first one should always be full cost recovery. That one I'm gonna give to you because you have to, that's your number one goal is to be, at least kind of net zero. But beyond that, it's really up to you. So some of the objectives that we talk about are encouraging conservation, right? So if you're having drought or shortfall on your water source, that could be a priority of your town specifically, is thinking about conservation. You can kind of keep scrolling as I talk here. And so the one challenge with encouraging conservation is then when people use less, you charge less. So thinking about how you balance, if that is one of your town's priorities, how you balance that priority with then kind of a loss of revenue from conservation. One of the other pieces, priorities that could be is maintaining affordability. So thinking about how do you structure your rates to help, some of the folks that are on fixed income or low income in your community, if that's a priority for you to focus on. Another area might be fostering business-friendly practices, right? So there's different ways to structure your rates based on if you wanted to promote economic growth and development, right? Trying to kind of be business-friendly is another way to structure rates. And then another priority area might just be building reserves, right? Knowing that you've got some big infrastructure upgrades that need to happen, right? Really building up that reserve to have that financial longevity. So those are things that I would encourage you as a board to kind of talk through what are your priorities and therefore how do you think about rates. Like I mentioned, we've got lots of trainings on rates, so I'm happy to do more and more in depth in a different setting for y'all if that's helpful. I did just want to pull in that we do maintain a dashboard for the state. So we talked about looking at neighbors' rates. This is an opportunity for you to do that if that's helpful for you. I can send the link later to Marsha to send that along if that's helpful. You can also just Google it and find it. We pull in rates from across the state, and you can kind of toggle how much water and sewer, et cetera, and you can look at bill comparisons with with the state. And then if you scroll, you can also, there's an area there on the dashboard where you can toggle it to the same number of customers, or this one that I highlighted is your council of government, right? So trying to get more local. So that is a resource for you. Again, I try to shy away from just comparing with your neighbors, but if that's a helpful comparison, then that's there for you as well. I'm gonna run through these real quick, but just thinking about revenue, right? So you guys are at this place where your operating ratio is pretty good. You wanna stay there, but just thinking about there are things that change, and so just to be aware of that things that might change what revenue you're able to bring in. So typically we see as rates go up, usage goes down, right? People, it hits their pocket, and therefore they want to use less to have their bill go down. So thinking about that. Population changes, right? Customers may come or go, so thinking about that as a revenue change. Loss of a big customer, if you have any kind of industrial and commercial folks that leave, kind of being able to be aware of that and how that might change your income. Other economic conditions, right? Just based on current, right, inflation, things like that might really address, or, if there's high economic growth and people are gonna be watering their lawns, that sort of thing, so there's some flux with that. Changes in collection rates, right? So even if your number of customers doesn't change, maybe how often they're paying changes, or their ability to pay changes. Obviously, weather and climate we've talked a lot about today, right? If you've got conditions impacting your system, that's gonna change revenue. Any sort of water use restrictions, we saw this during COVID-19. So, there's fluxes based on certain conditions. And then technology is another one where you've got fixtures that are water efficient, that sort of thing is gonna reduce how much your customers are using, and therefore your increased revenue, or changing your revenue. All right, so that's all some background, all things for you guys to ruminate on. I've got no answers, unfortunately, for you guys. Rates are really up to you. So I'm just gonna give you more information, and then you guys have to kind of process it. The other thing I'll say is I'm gonna go through some models that I've put together for your town specifically, and I'm hoping that this is an iterative process, right? So I've worked with your team. If there are other scenarios that you want me to run to model, I'm happy to do so. I would just like to provide whatever is most helpful for you guys. So a little bit about what we did. I just put this in here for our own reference. So you guys have this as a printout, and it's helpful for you to look back on. These are your customer classes. So you've got in-town, water out-of-town, sprinkler, sewer in and sewer out. You've got a couple of user charge availability fees, and then the multi-unit would be like bigger complexes. You guys have a few of those. I have averaged these count numbers across the 2 years of data that I have. So this isn't as of today, this is kind of overall what we're looking at. I did split it out based on residential and commercial. You guys do not charge based on residential and commercial. It's helpful for me to look at because it's a way that I can model. So it's great that you track it, but you don't actually charge by it. So all of your water in town, that WA1 and WA1C are both in the same rate structures. So your fiscal year 2025, which is what we're in, you did implement 4.5% increases across both the base and volumetric on the water and sewer. Your current blocks, in case you guys don't know this, your current blocks are 0 to 5,000, 5,015, and 15 plus. And so that just, you've got different rates for those. This is a very common structure we see with a base and kind of some increasing blocks. You do have a sprinkler, which has no base charge, just the volumetric. It's in addition to your water meters. And then I mentioned you guys have a couple of availability and multi-use. Okay, so one of the things that I do like to do is take a look at your consumption histograms. So if it's been a while since you've taken any mathematics classes, that's absolutely fine. I'm gonna walk you through this. What I do is I've got your 2 years of data, and the data that I'm looking at is your consumption, right? So Joe Schmo is using 2,500 this month, and it's April, right? So I'm looking at that consumption for every single one of your customers for every single month for those 2 years. And then what I'm doing is the histogram is showing how many times somebody consumed in that block. So in that kind of 0 block, the 0 to 1, 1,000 to 2,000, et cetera. So that's kind of the number of hits of folks that are consuming in that block over those 2 years. And I like to do this to see like where are there kind of natural progressions, and therefore where you might structure your rate blocks based on that. So I put in here your bar, the kind of the lines up and down are where your current rates are sitting. You've got the blocks like I mentioned at 5,000, at 15,000. So that's where your breaks are. You can keep this as is. This is I give you no answer. So you can keep this as is. If this works for you, then that's great. I did throw up kind of an alternative scenario. So I did split this. Residential is on the left, commercial is on the right to give you a sense of where users are consuming in those 2 different kind of groups. So one thing that could be, if you want to scroll down, the next one is you could change where those blocks sit. So you have the opportunity to potentially change, and have residential and commercial separate. Based on consumption, it looks like there's kind of different usage patterns for those 2 groups. Again, this is up to you guys. This is all really up to you, but if you wanted to think about allowance, you could think about allowance around that 2,000, kind of for both sides, and then think about splitting at maybe I think that's 6 on the residential and about 12 on the commercial. Anyhow, those numbers are there, that data is there for you if that's interesting to think about, could we shift how we're charging and therefore kind of maximize how we're able to collect revenue in those different groups. A little bit more about our rate modeling, which is what we'll show you next. I mentioned 2 years of data. I've got July 22 to June 24. I do want to just indicate that I'm probably overestimating the revenue given, looking at the numbers and projected revenues for fiscal year 25. So just keep that in mind as we look through the models. I've often built in a 3% increase year over year in the revenues, or in the increases, excuse me. So assuming you do 3% increase this year, 3% next year, et cetera, that's how I've built in the model. Again, this is iterative. So if you want to think about a 2% this year and a 5% next year, right, those are scenarios that we can model. There are a few assumptions in the model that we do include. 2% uncollected bills per year, so that's folks just not paying. We expect that there's going to be a little bit of that. We do build in a negative 1% average drop in average consumption per year, and that's again to that technology, right? You've got people replacing their technology. You see some drop, right? The efficient toilets and the efficient kind of appliances. We do also build in a 3% reduction with a 10% increase in rates. So that's really the effect on the pocketbook. When folks see a 10% increase, they tend to reduce their consumption. So that's what we model. I've also included a 4% inflation. I think that's actually probably a little bit low. I think we're seeing in the construction and the utility space higher inflation. So that's something that we can also fiddle with. We can look at your expenses year over year and see kind of what you guys are actually seeing in that inflation space. Okay, I've also mapped the growth rate per customer class. You can see here what I've done is I've taken the growth rate month to month and then averaged it over the 2 years. And I've just put in the growth rate next to that customer class. So kind of all over the board, a little bit of increase in a couple of the classes and some decreases in a couple of the classes. Another way we can model is assuming no growth so that we have a more conservative projection. That's all it's been mentioned. But again, this is just some information for you and opportunities for modeling different scenarios. I threw this up here, I'm not gonna run through this. We also include your debt service, so that's your existing known debt. That's one of those, that's that column there that's included on the expenses, and then your budget numbers we've pulled in. And like I mentioned, we do a 4% increase in inflation. Okay, so some of the scenarios that we've modeled, we've done a number of them. So I'm sorry, there's I think about 6 different models. I'm not gonna go into depth, you have all of these, and like I said, I'm happy to do other iterations. So I guess kind of how much information do you want? How much do you want me to go through on each of these? What's helpful?
Well, if you don't have any questions, I think you're moving along pretty good.
Okay.
Speed it up a little bit, because we have this information.
Yes, yeah, you have it all there. Yeah, so I guess let's even just kind of scroll through this. I think you guys have this information. What I've done for each of the scenarios included fiscal year projections for 5 years, and then the rates for the next fiscal year. What I haven't done is shown kind of the fiscal year 30 of what those rates would look like across the scenarios. So that could be something if you're interested in that. And then maybe why don't we go ahead and scroll down. So this is the same for each of them, and I've just indicated if I shifted any of the blocks, right? So in this version, I've got new blocks that included a 2,000 gallon allowance across the board, right? So that would be one of the things that we typically use for affordability is providing an allowance, which is not something that you guys have at the moment. So if affordability was a concern, you could consider an allowance of 1,500, 2,000 gallons. And that would be volume that'd be included in that base rate. And then your charge, the volumetric charge would start at that 2,000 gallons. So that's one opportunity for addressing affordability if that's a priority. And so some of the models have the allowance and some of them don't. Some of them I've split residential and commercial, some of them I haven't. So you can kind of go through each of those scenarios. Maybe let's just go through that last, I think it's actually the last slide that has all of them together. Here. Okay, so this is the last one that I put in there, and what I've done is I've taken your fiscal year 25, so that's your current rates, and then I've got the different versions across the top there, and you can see which ones I've included in allowance, which ones I've shifted the blocks, and which ones I've split residential and commercial. And then what I've done is I've taken kind of standard customers, so residential inside, low user at $2,000 a month, average user at $4,000. So I've come in with kind of some normal scenarios. And then for each row, what I've done is I've highlighted how expensive or how kind of the most expensive and the least expensive for that customer across the different versions. So we can just start with that first one so that you can kind of understand it. So that residential inside, a low user who's using only 2,000 gallons per month, the current fiscal year 25 rates and that first version are going to be the most expensive for that user. And then you can see version 2 is the least expensive, and it's because we've built in an allowance. And so you can kind of see the other 4 years are kind of in between, in the middle of those for that type of customer. So really just trying to include that there for you to give you a sense of, if there are certain customers that you're more concerned about, right, thinking about where you might want them to land. Okay, so there's a lot of information there. I'm gonna let you sit with that. Like I said, this is an iterative process. I'm happy to run other models, as you guys think about, if you go into budget season, if you wanna look at different opportunities, I'm happy to kind of keep working with y'all to help figure out what makes sense for you guys. But happy to answer any questions if you have any for me.
We appreciate you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Alicia? No? Questions? I want to say this to you, for the sake of time. The rates that you're talking about, we're competitive, and I know that we are, but they don't, a lot of our citizens don't see it that way. And I think what part of the problem is, a lot of our billing is done a little bit different than someone else's bill. Sure. They may get the water, sewer, or recyclables on one bill, and the electricity on another. The first thing they want to do is hold that up in front of our, say, well, we just, you know, this is our electric bill. No, we give you your utility bill. We include everything. And I think a lot of people, I'm not trying to make excuses, but to be quite honest, a lot of people still make that mistake today. You know? And basically, when they look on the utility bill, they look at utilities. The first thing they say, everything is whatever, but you gotta break it down. It's itemized for you, so you gotta break it down. So moving forward with that, that's gonna be a part of our program too, is an initiative to move it, to let people know what's really going on with this thing.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, happy to help. Yeah, customer engagement, I think, is typically one of the biggest pain points, right, is that if folks don't understand what you're doing or how you're doing it, it can be hard for them to understand.
I got a person, from another county, she couldn't believe what our utility bill was, and she said, really? I said, yeah, really. She said, well, let me send you a copy of mine. And when she sent hers, it's just like I was just telling you. They bill them separately, and, you know, so.
Well, and again, it's, you know, not comparing to your neighbors, it's, your system's different, right? And so, actually, her bill might be lower, but her utility might not be in a good position.
True.
Right, so, it's a balance.
Yeah, that's why we're gonna work it out. We're gonna bring our citizens, let them engage more with us, get on our boards and stuff, so we can get to the root of this problem.
Let me know if there's any way I can help.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. As Mayor Pro Tem stated earlier, item 4 for the Hardy family holding, we're not gonna discuss that. Next up will be our consent agenda. Is there any discussion or on the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion and a second to approve. Motion by Commissioner Goff, second by Commissioner Connor. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have updated our substance use, abuse, and testing policy. I believe the last update was in '96. Of course, laws have changed since then. Drugs have evolved, and so basically we reached out to other, not just other towns, but we also reached out to the league, and this policy was written actually by the lady that defends, like if we had something to go to court, this lady actually pretty much gave the template on this substance abuse policy. Now, we had to tweak it to our town, but basically I feel like it's good policy. Laws keep evolving. It's HR, it's hard to, sometimes the laws don't keep up with changes, like we mentioned with the drugs and with the just a different world we're in. But basically, this policy, as written, I would recommend it. If you have any questions, before y'all read through it, I'll be glad to answer. But basically, we had 3 floating around, and so we also looked into that, and we distilled it down. I think it's a workable policy. A few years we might have to update it, but right now I've got complete confidence in it. So if y'all agree, you can just make a motion to pass it as written. If there's some amendment, some change, of course, just make a motion and indicate any change that you may have.
Any questions for Manager Howard? I need a motion then to accept the policy as written. Motion by, as written by Mayor Pro Tem Langley. I need a second, please. Second by Commissioner Connor. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next is the town use policy. The police police department has had a vehicle take-home policy for years. The commissioner that, asked me to look into this, just said basically, we need something in writing, which is true. So, this is what we came up with. I had actually several staff members help me with this. Of course, we reached out to different towns and experts on it. The only thing that I would ask y'all to consider is in the future, like for example, under eligibility, it says employees approved to take a town vehicle home must live within so many miles of the town's primary corporate limits. Obviously, you can leave that in there. My only concern is, in the future, and all these people on this board may not even be here when this is changed, but the trend is that people are not getting into government work. And, just like the finance and accounting, a couple of years ago, the state, they didn't pass the bill, but they were seriously considering having finance and accounting people that had retired with the state be able to come back and work without it hurting their retirement, just because it was so shortage. And, the average age of a public works director is in the high 50s, and so people are just not choosing to do government work. So if we put that mileage must live within so many miles of the town limits, we may be limiting our employee pool in the future. So I would ask that you consider taking that out, and then also under private use of public vehicles, that third paragraph, about the third line down, it says, but lunch travel must be limited to food establishments within the town's corporate limits. And that's what most of our people do. However, if they have a little extra time and all, me personally, I don't think it's a bad thing if they want to go to Winterville. I mean, you're talking just a few miles, and sometimes they get asked so many questions when they're trying to eat lunch, which is a great thing, but sometimes I do see people want to eat in another town just so they can have lunch, not be interrupted. So I would ask you to consider taking that out as well. That's totally y'all's option. Y'all can present it, y'all can adopt it as written. You can adopt it with my suggestions or any combination thereof.
Any questions for Manager Howard?
I have a request. Based on, you mentioned at the beginning of your conversation, Town Manager, that a commissioner approached you on the take-home policy on town-owned vehicles. Right. That commissioner could not be here tonight, so he requested that I make a motion to table this into April's meeting. So I'm making a motion to table the town vehicle use policy into our April meeting.
Motion to table the meeting until Commissioner Newell returns, made by Mayor Pro Tem, and a second made by Commissioner Connor. Is there any discussion? Anyone? No discussion? If no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Good evening. We've got two items for you tonight. The first one deals with Powellville street improvements. I made mention a couple months ago that we were working through the bid process. We completed that. Based on the availability of $257,000 of Powellville funds, we did prepare two street improvement projects based on the town board's prior street improvement priority list. Project number one, the Pinewood Drive street improvements. And the second project, the combination combination of improvements to Martin Luther King Jr. Street, alleys, Blunt Street, Princess Street, and Sixth Street, and then all of these coming off the previously, approved and adopted priority list. The low bids were submitted by Tripp Brothers for both packages. Part of the downside on that is that the low bids even exceeded the available funds that we had. So based on that, we did negotiate a new scope, that removes the proposed work on Martin Luther King Street, in this round, but does approve all other activities, based on those priorities. Again, the resolution awarding contract, construction and adoption of capital budget are in your packet. There's also a memorandum of negotiation that shows the removal of the Martin Luther King Street project, as well as the bid tabulation sheets. So the action we're requesting tonight, of course, is to approve the resolution awarding construction and also adopting the capital project budget. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
So you said the Tripp Brothers underbidded?
They were the low bid. On the Pinewood side, they were at $104,000. I think the high bid on that was at $163,000. And then on the remaining projects,
So the MLK improvement, when do you plan on attacking that?
as soon as we can build additional surplus in the Powell fund, that will took us a couple of years just to build that $257,000 based on the appropriations from the state. So we'll look at, reserves. It's a rolling appropriation, and so we've got so much time to spend those monies before they fall off. So during this budget process, we'll be looking at reserves, that have not been spent the last couple of years. And hopefully we'll be able to generate enough to at least incorporate, that project and hopefully some others, in the next budget year.
I have 3 questions. Okay, how much money are we talking about when you remove the MLK?
MLK alone. MLK, the low bid alone on MLK was $104,000, just on that one project. The high bid was $144,000.
Okay, and what did you base your decision on to remove MLK? What made you to select that area?
More so to cover as many streets off that list as possible, based on their priorities.
And then what area MLK are we talking about? Are we talking about the area by?
You know, we did that one it would just be a continuation of that, so back towards.
MLK is terrible. It's
I agree.
holes in the streets. I mean, like what Jim said, I'm afraid of a vehicle having fall in. It is terrible. So whatever we can do to get that street fixed.
We're hopeful that between the reserves and leftovers, general expenditures from this year, that we'll have enough to at least complete that project in the next budget year. Hopefully, a few other small ones as well.
Do you have any more questions?
That's all I have.
Commissioner Goff, you have something?
I did.
Go ahead.
Well, one was what Commissioner Connor asked about your priorities. So the other streets are really in more dire need, plus trying to get more
Correct.
done
Correct.
with the amount of funds that we have.
Correct.
Is there a way with NLK, if the poles or the potholes are detrimental to traffic or vehicle use, can those be mitigated in some fashion?
Yes, they can be patched. These projects were complete, remilling and repaving entire segments, but yes, those things can be patched.
Because we're looking at the next budget year before we can look at MLK, correct?
For a
Maybe
project,
patch it for-
no, I'll have somebody take a look at it. Yeah, but yeah, as far as a project, it would have to wait until we, had enough power.
And one thing, it's just a comment, we had, someone, the visitors, someone made a comment about Third Street.
And so I just wanna reiterate along with you, is that Third Street is not town, that is subject to North Carolina Department of Transportation to fix that. And there is a website where we as citizens can go where, when it's, state-owned streets and highways, that we can report, potholes or rough roads or things like that, and give it to their attention so that they can look at it and actually come out and make some changes or adjustments. So that is out there for us to use. But I just wanted to reiterate that what the gentleman said is not in our purview.
Any other comment?
I'm just gonna comment, piggyback on what Commissioner Gall said. Commissioner Newell actually told another gentleman that I was talking to, that if you go online or you report like a pothole on a state road, that they are required to respond within 24 hours, but it has to be reported. And this is apparently the procedure to do it, is reporting it online, or possibly calling in.
Any other questions? I would like to say this, MLK, particularly on the, that would be the north end of MLK, right where that little store is, if you're headed back south, a lot of people complain about that pothole. And I've been told over the years that we had veins, quicksand type veins that run in different areas of our town. That one really needs some work done to it. There's so much traffic that goes through. And I was told at one point, as far as the big, heavier trucks, that there will be signage to prevent them from coming through there, and there's no signage. I think we need to look at this thing again. I'm willing to wait if the board is willing to go this way to Commissioner Newell returns, because for those who don't know, he does work for the DOT, and he knows a lot about this type of thing. Not that our system manager doesn't know, but this is a very serious thing. It has a lot to do with the spirit of the community. When you bring your family, you're trying to get to a grocery store way across town, next thing you know, you gotta duck out for this. I'm talking about one Mac, that whole street needs reworking, particularly from 6th Street down. I feel that the board needs to table this until Commissioner Newell returns, because of his expertise in this field as well. I know how I feel about it. And other boards, Coach, you have anything on that bad spot on King Street that we just can't seem to get right? People keep having to have this front end repaired and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I tell you where another two more bad ones are too.
Okay.
Going out 2nd Street, when you get to Juanita. There's a big pothole there, there's one on the other side there. I know because doing Growl's Edge, one of my students hit one, we had a flat tire. That's been like 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of potholes here around here. One over there on Hill Street by the church.
Well, that's my position. What's the pleasure of the board?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Smith, I know that the board, we've talked about it, and you may not be able to answer, town manager may be able to answer it. We talked about, heavy vehicles going along down a lot of these town roads, and we have discussed putting up signs that have a limit on the weight of the vehicles traveling down our roads, but we've talked about that. Have we got any idea when we're gonna move forward on, because we've got these, dump trucks, going down our city town roads, destroying our roads, and we've got major areas that they can travel on state roads, but they're destroying our roads, and we get no compensation from the state for it.
Yeah, I think ultimately that would take a change to the traffic code,
What do we have to do to move forward on that?
We can bring something back to you, as far as changes to that code, once it's implemented, then it is law. And then that would allow the police department the opportunity to enforce it, or try
Is it something that you prepare, or who prepares that?
The manager, myself, and in conjunction with the chief, we'll take a look at the code and see how we can.
Now, we have talked about that in the past.
We
that's
have had
correct.
conversations, that's right.
Yeah, but we never just moved forward.
I don't think the board ever made the direction to update that code and get those streets. I know we talked about putting signs in certain places, again, until that traffic code, I'll just let the attorney correct me if I'm wrong, but the town traffic code isn't changed. Enforceability is impossible, even if it's posted.
Okay, since you're the one I'm addressing, so what are we talking about, 60 days for you guys to get something together, or how much time do we need?
Yes, I would take 60 days.
So in 60 days from now, we'll have something brought to the board, so it'll be our May meeting about what we can move forward on, how much it's gonna cost for the signage, and making sure we are legal. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Smith?
I make a motion that we table that until, next meeting for, commissioner order.
Motion to table is made by Mayor Pro Tem Langley, second by, Commissioner is also coaching this, Commissioner Davis. And, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
So the last one I have for you tonight is on voluntary agricultural districts. I know we had a discussion at our last meeting, the board was interested in moving forward in that process. So we did include in your packet the actual county voluntary ag district ordinance. Basically, if a municipality wants Pitt County ordinance to apply within our limits, we need to adopt a resolution authorizing the application of the ordinance in our jurisdiction, and then ultimately enter into an interlocal agreement with Pitt County to enforce that ordinance within our jurisdiction. So the action requested tonight is for you to authorize staff to draft that resolution adopting the Pitt County Voluntary Ag District, and authorize staff to work with the county to enter into that interlocal agreement regarding the application of the ordinance. And I'm glad to answer any questions you have those.
Any questions for Mr. Smith? On the voluntary agriculture? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
How does that work with us, with the town working with Pitt County? And do they have any governing aspects in any of this, or is that just something that we work with?
Yes,
How does it work?
they will be the regulators of that ordinance inside our jurisdiction. That's what the interlocal agreement will spell out. And I think that the ag districts have their own internal makeup, when those applications made, they do a review committee, that will all be through the county program. They would handle all aspects of that for the county.
And how does that help the agricultural districts in Ayden?
It would allow them to protect those farmlands that they own. Again, it's a voluntary program, there's criteria that you have to meet, but it does help preserve farmland.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Langley. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dahl. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Let's get done.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here asking y'all to approve the updates in our bylaws, which basically what we're doing is we're going from 7 members to 5.
Any questions for Mr. Dudley? What's the pleasure of the board? Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Langley, second by Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good evening, it's gonna be real quick. I just need another board member, approved. And I'm presenting to you my, person
that, applied for it, Teresa Bell. She is a very active patron. Her children for years have been coming and doing different programs, summer reading. Her boys are in my AIM mentoring program. She has a degree in business, a degree in theology, been in the community for a while, and I think she'll be a good addition to my board.
Any questions for our librarian? No questions? Okay, need a motion and a second? Motion by Commissioner Goff. Second by Commissioner Connor. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Congratulations.
Ms. Markovich, is that TERESA or TERE?
TERESA.
And Bill?
I'm back. All right, I just wanted to talk tonight a little bit about the residential and commercial utility deposits. So why do we charge deposits? We charge deposits to reduce our liability. We're gonna start with residential deposits. The Town of Ayden submitted $94,970 in the North Carolina debt set-off. That is just last year. That is from January 2024 through December 2024. That was 129 accounts. And out of the 129 accounts, 123 accounts were $74,956,000 that were left on residential utility accounts last year. 6 of those was $20,014 for code enforcement for grass cuts or condemnation. Sadly, the amount was more than that.
I'm sorry, can you go back one and say that again?
Mhm.
You talked about grass cuts.
Yes, sir. Okay.
20,000, okay.
Yes, sir. The amount was more than that. Sorry, my different pages. We cannot submit to North Carolina debt set-off if the primary account holder is deceased, if the account balance is less than $50, and if we do not have the social security number. Many years ago, that was not always done when setting up an account. The payments for North Carolina debt set-off, we are not the highest priority agency. We can only get funds from the North Carolina state tax refund only, not federal returns, or lottery winners, which have to be over $600. $15 is deducted from every payment for administrative costs at the state level. The residential utility deposit is $450. It currently stays on the account until it is closed. We are not doing any more credit checks. Previously, we ran credit checks for everyone requesting a residential utility account. If the credit score was poor, clients were required to pay a deposit. If they passed the credit, it was required. For the clients that had poor credit, after a year of timely payments, the deposit was applied to the account. Deposit if 2 late payments or 2 disconnects after the deposit was credited. We found out that passing the credit check was not a guarantee for timely payments. Many times we found that after we credited the deposit back to the account, we had to recharge the deposit due to disconnects and late payments, which increased our liability, but also created a hardship for the account holder. Currently, everyone pays a deposit. The deposit remains on the account until it is closed. The deposit is used to offset any balance, and anything remaining is sent to the customer. Clients closing their accounts are eager to leave a forwarding address for any remaining deposit. Having up-to-date forwarding addresses help offset the workload of e-sheets for the state, and that is checks that we reissue for refunds or amounts left on accounts that are not cash, which is required financially to send to the state. The Town of Ayden received $29,992 in 2024 from the North Carolina debt set-off from 129 accounts. Out of the 129 accounts that paid, $33,554 remains on their accounts. The amount received reflects years of past accounts with balances. Out of the $29,992, we received 1 payment from a tax account. We've not collected tax since 2015. 3 housing authority accounts, $555. We have not been part of the housing authority since 2022. 1 condemnation, $295, and 124 utility accounts, reaching $29,082. Since 2006, the Town of Ayden has submitted $1,082,839 to North Carolina debt set-off. 81% of that amount is for utilities, $887,550. We have only collected $255,182 from North Carolina debt set-off since 2006 through March 2025. Commercial deposits. Commercial deposit amounts are determined by the electric average usage and size of the building. Small commercial utility deposits are $600, large commercial deposits are $3,000, and industrial commercial deposits are $3,500. No credit checks for businesses. There's no way to recoup any unpaid balances that a business may leave. Cannot send to North Carolina debt set-off unless the business owner applied for their application using their social security number. If a business ownership changes, including location, we require a new account to be established. Why? Businesses can change owners and or legal entities, LLCs, S corps, and corporations using same established business name as a different DBA, and we are left with old accounts with balances. Currently, Town of Ayden has $68,993 and 102 inactive business commercial accounts. We cannot collect, no way to collect. Deposit is the only way to reduce liability for commercial accounts. The size of the building may also be smaller or larger if there is a change to the business location. Town of Ayden does not earn any interest on deposits for electric accounts. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Mrs. Zoll? Mr. Law?
In the case of, this is commercial business, okay? In the case of a business remaining at its location, one or more of the business owners remains with that business, but they need to change businesses from one LLC to another, or one, whatever, partnership to another. My understanding is then they have to turn around and make another deposit because of the number account, even though it's all still
That is correct.
basically the same.
That is
the reason behind that.
Because we have many businesses right now that are in operation, that change owners, that change, situations, how they're, aligned with their entity, that you would be surprised, I can't disclose those businesses, but they are operating, all they have to do currently is just change names, change owners. So by requiring a new account, where we can focus and close that account out and start something fresh with the new ownership, the way it's intended. I know that sounds kind of weird, but
So the deposit from the account that's closed, how is that transferred?
so if they have a deposit, so there's a lot of commercial accounts in Ayden that are still business today that have no deposits on them. So if someone needed to make a change, we would require a deposit to reduce our liability, especially if that business that was not required to put a deposit down. So we do have a lot of businesses that did not have to put a deposit down.
But if they did have a deposit, it would just,
We would like to
refund back to
close-
them, and then they would just pay us.
Yes, and start with a new account, with a new ownership and an entity, so that we wouldn't have any remaining balances.
That was just kind of clarify how this works.
Yeah, there's quite a few businesses that changed ownerships through the years that did not have deposits on them, that have remaining balances on them.
Thank you.
Good, Commissioner Dodd?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mrs. Zoll?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Where did the $450 come from? Who came up with $450 for the residential deposit?
So prior to me starting in May of '23, I think it was $300, and, staff recommended upping that because the year prior, the water and sewer rates were increased in 2022. So the utility deposit that was on file was not covering typically the last average of a residential. So it went from, I think, $300 to $450.
Well, okay, I understand. Okay, so staff did recommend it, okay. So number one, we stopped credit checks.
Yes.
So before, at one time, if a person had, was paying bills on time and everything, that, they did not have to give a deposit, or if they brought a statement from another, say I lived in Greenville, then I moved to Ayden, and I had a good credit history with Greenville Utilities, and I came to Ayden with my past bills, showing that I pay on time. That means nothing today in Ayden, correct? You're paying $450 if you want a resident.
That is correct.
Okay. So,
And I don't know if the letter was in place when I started, I'd have to confirm that.
Right. Well, I know that dealing with different municipals over the years, myself personally, if I had a letter of credit from a previous municipal or somewhere, that pertained to how much of my deposit would be at the next location. And we don't have any of that anymore. We're basically saying verbatim, $450, I don't care who you are, what you are, how you doing, it's $450. I feel that that's too much money.
Me too.
I do understand that we do not wanna lose money. I understand that. No business, because we are a business, we don't wanna lose money. But to me, $450 seems extreme. We are in a business, you do have things that can happen, and we don't wanna lose money. I understand that. But I think 2 deposits you have listed, you have commercial deposits at how much? For
Depends
commercial
on what
deposit?
size.
How much?
It depends on what size building. You
Well, it said commercial.
Correct, commercial, 600.
I mean, other than a small generation type, like my business. Mine's, I don't even remember what it was. I had to pay more.
The
But,
$450 for residential is typically on the low end of electric, water, and sewer.
I understand that, but I'm talking about it's a deposit. It's not a bill. It's a back, it's like saying I will pay the money, and if I don't, you'll take $300. I understand that. But the initial deposit to me, I think is too high. I think the most that we should go on a residential would possibly be $300. But when I looked at your slide, you had commercial and industrial. The larger commercial and the industrial. There's a $50 difference. What kind of,
500.
look, go back to the slide.
Oh,
Yeah, it was, commercial deposit, go to commercial and industrial.
And just what we found out.
It was 3 of them.
Okay,
It was 3.
see, 3,000, okay, what I was getting at, large commercial deposit is 3,000, industrial is 3,500. Is there that much, isn't industrial a lot more usage than the large commercial?
Yes, but if you're being economic friendly and trying to attract new industrial, that is probably where.
But we wanna be residential friendly.
There you go.
Okay, so.
I understand that, I do.
Okay, so I'm requesting that we table this, I guess, until, because I just, the commercial is, that's a business, that's part of business expense. People is a little bit different. And the other question I have, this new document here, the residential and business customers utility deposit was approved in December, correct? Okay. What about everyone that had, let's say for instance, we had new clients, when do we start charging deposits? Or when do we stop giving back deposits?
After December.
In December. So if I signed up utilities in November, this come November, I'm getting my money back, right?
No.
Why not?
Because you fall under the policy.
You changed the
current
rules though.
policy. But you fall under the current policy.
Okay, and that's written in the first policy.
I think that's legal. It's
Pardon?
not the application that they signed.
What I'm saying is, we're, in November or before, we're saying you put up the deposit. If you have 12 months of good standing, we will refund your deposit. Then we changed the policy in December, so what we told that resident is incorrect.
That is not on the application.
For verbiage, we say these things. Just like now, every day someone tells me what's going on with what we have in our current policy. Okay, so I wanna be clear, I understand. So if I signed up last summer for Ayden Utilities, then, on the new policy in December, when I thought I was getting my money back in the summertime, I'm not getting back, it's being applied. It will stay there until I terminate the services. Okay, I just wanna make sure. Okay, thank you.
stuff. I sit here tonight, and these aren't closing statements I'm making. But I have to be honest with myself. I sit here tonight and I heard a lot of stuff, okay? Don't take it wrong when I say stuff. I'm hearing a lot from the people. I told you all earlier that we are an extension of the people. And I feel I'm an extension of the people. I'm hurt by a lot of things that we haven't done. And I'm gonna just be straight up with you. Whatever you decide to do or can do with Mewburn, it's up to you. And it goes for y'all out there, and it goes for us up here on this board. It's up to you. I ain't running from nothing. I know what's right, and I know what's wrong. Now, to fix the whole conundrum of everything, I don't have those answers. But I do know that we as a town, and we're struggling just like the lady told you earlier. We all struggle. I'm a citizen too. I have feelings too. And when y'all come up, I listen to my management staff. I gotta listen to both sides being on the mayor. But at the same time, I gotta be fair. We need to become more, first of all, more citizen friendly. I said it, and I meant it. And we gotta be business friendly. Just like Mayor Pro Tem said, I've said it before. We're not talking about giving away the bank, giving away the house, giving away our town. We've never talked about that because we don't believe in that. But what I believe is in being fair. And a lot of things, I listened to a lot of people talk tonight. A lot of those things touched me. I have to live within the limitations of my consciousness. I have to treat everybody like I would want to be treated. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Whether the board is with me or not. That's what I stand on. That's my creed. That's what I stand on. Some changes have to be made. And I tried to do it in a soft way tonight to let y'all know that we're going to be working on some committees. And that is true. But I'm telling you my bottom line, and I'm tired of hearing about how our citizens get treated, and is there room to treat our citizens better? Of course there is. I'm that guy. Get mad with me, don't like me, doesn't matter. When my time is up here, my time is up. But one thing you'll be able to say about Mewburn, I've been Mewburn, that I gave my heart to the town, and I believe in the people of this town. I believe in this board. I believe in management. But above all, I believe in God. And I'll stand with it for what's right. Doesn't matter what y'all think. Some changes have to be made. I'll say this to you as well. I know what the scope of my powers are as mayor. I know what the scope of my powers are not as mayor. But to get this thing where it needs to be for everybody, employees and everybody, I'm going to do all I can. And I think this board is too. I told you earlier, I don't know whether you pay attention. I talk to all of the board members. That's what we do. We can't meet together, but I pick up the phone. I talk to my manager, clerk. Hey, I do that. Because it's going to take all of us to get this thing right. There may be some embarrassing things on your side, and maybe some on our side. But my thing is to get this thing right because we're adult enough to get it right. Again, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm here to tell you, so if you hear what Mewburn said, I said it. It's time for us to do better. We're not gonna die by reaching out and taking the extra initiative sometimes to listen to our citizens to help us. By the same token, you all aren't gonna die by listening to us. It all needs to be done with respect. I'm here. I'm not here by happenstance. I'm here by divine appointment. And I don't care who agrees with me. And I'm here to tell you that Ayden can turn around, but we got to give some. And we got to take some in any relationship. And that's all I'm asking for. I appreciate everything that, I'm not dismissing the meeting, but I appreciate y'all. The people up here appreciate y'all. But we got to get this thing right because we can get it right. I get embarrassed going places. Everybody wanna tell me, hey, got the high light bill. And I understand, people look at the utility bill, they only look at the utility. Most of them don't look at the, I get it. But it's something more sinister here, and I haven't been able to figure it out, but I'm man enough, and strong enough, and believe in Ayden enough to get it figured out and done right. Okay? I try not to say nothing. I try to be cordial. I'm not scolding us, me, you guys, but as mayor of this town, I want you to know where I stand. Okay? And we're gonna do all we can. If they don't vote the way I want them to vote, I don't have any control over that. It's like I told you, I know what the scope of my powers are, I know what they are not. But at least they know my heart. I have the heart of Ayden, and the heart of Ayden includes our citizens. It includes management, our employees, and our businesses. We can do better. And I'm here, as long as I'm here, to make sure we do better. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm done on that account right there. I'm done on that. I don't like to pull my heart out, but I love Ayden. I was born and raised here. I know we can do better. I seen from whence we came. None of us are perfect, so I'm saying let's work together. If we did something wrong, we should be man or woman enough to say we did something wrong. If you all did something wrong, hey, let's talk it out. Be man enough. That's how we get somewhere. We're not getting anywhere clashing. Well, I don't want to do this because they said that I didn't like what they said. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that wants to pull this thing together. Okay? Thank you all for listening. I about lost my place. I don't like to get like that, but hey, I am who I am. I want y'all to know who I am. And the former mayor heard all kind of feels and tales, but I'm not him. I am not him. I'm either of you one. I was raised to treat people like I want to be treated. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, whether the board go along with that or not, you need to take a look at them. It's a good board, but I'm just letting you know, I'm for getting this thing right. The water situation, I'm for getting this thing right. The utility situation, I'm for getting this thing right because we can get it right. But we got to come together out of respect for one another and talk this out. So you guys get on these boards, show us some things we don't know, and hold our feet to the fire. But at the same token, we're gonna hold your feet to the fire. Let's hold one another accountable. I think we can get somewhere. Yeah, I'm going to ask you.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Commissioners don't agree, then we can table it, or?
Make a motion.
On the residential and business customer utility deposits, under the commercial and industrial, I believe those are fair deposits. Under the residential, I'm requesting to reduce it down to 300. And then it will stay in the account until the account is closed. It will not be refunded after 1 year. So I'm recommending that change, and I'd like a motion for that. I'm making a motion for that change.
Before the motion is second, I have Ms. Alden, you step up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's get this deposit thing. Let's not overlook this thing. Tell me again how that works, as far as after such and such amount of time. How does that work?
Currently, the deposit stays on the account. I want to pay the remaining bill is taken out of that deposit. Anything remaining is sent to the forwarding address that you leave.
Okay.
And that the amount that was $450 was based off the average residential month.
Gotcha.
Water, sewer, and electric.
I understand that we've been getting the short end of stuff. People leaving, and that, when I read over that bothers me. But at the same time, when we look at those who are not doing right, it's only fair to look at those who do right.
There you go.
And let's do those that do right, let's do them right. If they need their deposit, a part of their deposit, let's try to look at that. Let's take a look at that, because people need money. We're in those times. You know, I appreciate all you do and all our management, all of everything. I appreciate everybody. but we gotta get this thing right. And a lot of bitter seeds being sown in this community. When I go places, I don't like it, but I hear it, and I don't like it. And we can correct it. So let's treat one another who want to be treated. That deposit thing, that's my issue with that. Those just owe their money, even though we're taking a risk with those, like you said, Ms. Hall, that somebody leave in the middle of the night and leave us hanging. And I want y'all to know that's what happens to us. This thing isn't as easy as it may look, but we're here to get it worked out. But we need you all to work with us, and we need to work with y'all. So my opinion on that deposit thing, if there's a way to get even a portion back to them, those that are doing right. Hold those that don't do right, but those that do right, let's treat them like they're doing right.
So our current policy states that if you were, previous, before we were charging the deposit, if they had to pay a deposit after 2 late payments or due to disconnect their account, that amount goes back onto their account because they become a liability to the town.
I thought I explained it pretty good.
There's just a lot of steps
with
in
what you're
this.
saying.
Yeah.
I just want those of us who do right to be treated right.
Yeah. I would like to have this table, because I have comments that I want to make in this comment, so I would like to have this table.
Are you ready to make those comments now?
Yes.
Well, you can make them.
Okay, comment that I have.
I know everybody, let me say this, Commissioner Conlon, with all due respect. I know everybody's ready to go, I'm ready to go myself. But some things we can kind of get right here tonight, this should be the beginning. So, Commissioner Conlon.
I'm tired of hearing people talk about the utility bill, like the mayor said, when the bill goes up, mine too. And we're on, as you can say, fixed income. So I had suggested that we form a task force for one for utility and one for drainage. It consists of citizens, one citizen from each ward, and each commissioner will be responsible for finding someone in their ward to represent. Get together and discuss it, because you cannot accomplish anything just by coming to the meeting. But this committee could get together, and Ms. I wrote her name down, Frazier, I guess, graciously said that she would come, so she could come in, be in on the utility part, and we could get what we consider an expert to come together on the drainage part, and come together with some ideas and bring them back to the board, because we hear you, and I read the comments on Facebook, and I do not like it because it does not make us look good. Because one thing with Ayden, we have good employees, but they are stretched thin. They might have a title, but they have to do a lot within that title. Where in some cities, they just have one person dedicated to do one job. Our employees have to do several jobs, so they cannot, no offense, direct a lot of time to one area, because they got another area over here to take care of. So I was thinking that we could get this committee, we could find people in Ayden that have expertise in utility. Some of our citizens are former employees of other municipalities, so they can bring some of these ideas. We get together, bring the ideas together, and they can bring information back to the board. And we will also have a commissioner to serve on, not the whole commission, like one commissioner on each one on the street board, and one on the drainage board. Hopefully, we could clarify a lot of myths, some things that are being said are true, so we could clarify all of this, and I think the citizens would be happy, because they'll feel like they had a part in correcting things. It's just my suggestion if the board would go along with it.
I appreciate your comments, I really do. Any other comments for Mrs. Hall?
One other question.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Ms. Hall, what does it cost the town to do a credit check?
I have to go back and double check that.
Is it
We have a
per
contract.
person, or is it a monthly fee?
It's per person. Per person.
I don't know how much it is on that.
Yeah, it's per person.
Okay, then I want to withdraw my motion, on, the motion I made on, the residential business customer utility but I don't wanna keep moving things over and over again, that's why I was trying to move forward on this. But could you bring back the cost of credit checks? That way we can see what it's costing us and, possibly make a better decision on this. I make the motion that we table.
A second.
Mayor Pro Tem made a motion, Mayor Pro Tem Langley, that we table it, and a second by Commissioner Connor. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any discussion?
Yes,
ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that we form those two committees.
Right.
Is that appropriate?
Mr. Clerk, did you get that?
I didn't hear a vote on the first motion to table.
Okay, the motion was made by Commissioner Langley, and I think, was it
I did.
Commissioner Connor? She seconded to table it. And now Mrs. Connor is.
You gotta vote.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all in favor, that will be known by saying aye. All opposed. Motion carried. Now, Commissioner Connor, you're making.
A motion that we form two committees. One to do research or task or whatever.
I just did the research.
Word is. Consisting of a citizen from each ward, a commissioner, a staff member, and some expert person to be determined that expert.
Talking about like streets, like one streets committee and one drainage committee.
Right.
Okay.
One utility.
Not streets, drainage and utility.
Those are the two hot topics.
Okay, did you get that?
Mr. Clerk?
I did, thank you.
And we'll bring the people back to the board to vote on, once I find my person, we'll bring that person back.
Second?
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, so we're getting somewhere, y'all. I know it's late, I was gone, but I'll take care of business.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As y'all remember at the last meeting, I was directed to get some prices on renters getting insurance for various activities. Anything from a birthday party to something more risky. So I've done that. It's pretty self-explanatory in your packet. I did see a small typo on page 324, just for integrity's sake, the very last column under all other leases. It starts out 300, below that 250, and that 600 should be 400, just like if you look to the left of the page. So none of that has changed. That was just a typo, and it should be 400. Now, what we did, if you remember Matt Reed from the League of Municipalities that handles our risk and liability, he came and spoke a long time ago, and he mentioned a company that has really competitive prices on events, because that was a concern of the board that, certain groups may not be able to afford, and the estimates we were talking then was $600. So, if you look on page 325, this is how staff proposes to do the various risk classes. And we got this from GatherGuard, I believe, or maybe Intact Insurance. But if you look, basically risk class 1 are the safest type of activities, anywhere from an anniversary party to a book signing. If you look at the bottom right, that's where risk class 2 starts, slightly more dangerous. Bingo game, I guess the senior citizens get a little violent. I don't know what that's risk 2, but that's what the experts tell us, and I have seen them get competitive, so I don't doubt it. So, anyway, in risk 3, which is the most dangerous activities, and of course you can read through yourself, basketball game, parades, rugby, comedy show. Again, this is from the experts, this is how staff proposes to categorize that. And if you look at the very end, it says excluded events. This is stuff that this insurance and our league insurance will not cover. Bike races, skateboarding, skydiving, stuff that hopefully we don't get too many requests for. But I bring that up because you use those different risk classes, and if you look on 328, then you can see what estimated price would be. For example, on page 328, if you have 101 to 500 people at this event, and it's a class 1, which means it's a low risk, the insurance is only $100. If you flip over to that same attendance rate, but the most dangerous thing we would allow would be the class 3, which would be still only $200. So this is amazingly cheap. I've never seen rates this cheap for stuff that dangerous. And just, you know, I know we've debated or talked about last time, maybe some of these groups maybe don't need insurance, but you know, one mistake or two, and we're in a bad way. And I'll give you an example. It's personally embarrassing, but I went to Miss Norris's Longleaf Pine thing. I thought I was going to be smart and go out the side door. Well, it's pitch black there, so I took a step. I thought the pavement was this far, and it was really that far. And I had to get up MRI and everything. So what I'm saying, and I'm not that old, so my point to that story is I think staff recommends that whatever the event, we make them get at least a little insurance. And so really, I recommend, of course, that these rates, you know, y'all wanted me to get this in order to approve the rental rates, and if they should get insurance and all that. So that's the follow-up information that y'all had asked for last meeting.
Good job. I have a question. Well, anybody else have a question?
I just, who has, I mean, is this something that when someone is doing a rental of something, that we have the application that they can do the insurance with, and who does that go to? How does that work?
Yeah, we would, you know, if they ask, we'll give them the numbers we have. Of course, we won't say, you should go with this person, because we can't technically recommend, but I doubt the average person would be able to find these companies on their own. So we can give it to them.
You have the means to provide it.
Yeah, we can say, call this number, they can probably handle it. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Are you okay from your fall?
Yeah, supposedly.
Commissioner Down, thanks for asking.
Now, some businesses, some nonprofits, some churches, groups
Yes.
would sometimes have their own insurance coverage, but they just need to provide that to us.
Yes.
And then that would cover it.
That's right, and that's how we've been doing it. Hey, you need coverage, and they usually get it, but if they, you know, if they're like, hey, I can't afford this, or whatever, we have options for them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
In the past, Juneteenth has been required to get insurance. What would it fall under?
That would be under, let's see here, not a parade, but an event, or maybe festival. Let's see where that falls. Event, pageant, social.
On the front there, we're gonna be no more June.
Festival or cultural event, well, this is indoors. Okay, holiday event, it would be risk class 2, which is obviously not the most dangerous, and it's not quite as safe as just sitting and talking.
Any other questions for the matter? I would like to make a question statement of however it's proceeding. We have in our audience tonight, a pastor of one of our great churches in this town that has done so much for the community. And, I still appreciate her pulling me to the side, what they call putting a bug in my ear. And, they did a food giveaway, y'all, free of charge. And, it may not register with some people across our town, but we do have a need for that. And, Mr. Manager's probably looking at where that will fall at. But we also have homeless people in our town. So it's not just the people you see where, I know, Jimmy, he stays there, you know, he may not be doing that good. But we have actual people who need food. And there's actually people in our community that will cook this food if it's not cooked for them. We're in that type of shape here. So, Pastor Trudy Robinson is the pastor. Would you just please stand briefly, if you would? And I do thank you for taking your time and your church coming to our town, feeding our hunger. Because, you know, we know what this is.
That's our responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. The scripture says, for as much as you have done it to the least of these, you also done it to him. So, not just Pastor Robinson's church, but any church that's willing to feed the hungry, how would they fit in with what we're discussing here tonight, Mr. Manager?
That would be an individual thing, so specialized that I guess the person calling for the insurance, I have not found it on here. I have not seen anything where it says, you know, with food. I may be missing it, but right now I don't see anything.
Well, let me ask the board this question, and the audience and the management as well. And the attorney. If someone is willing to come to our town, I like to say our great town, and feed our hunger, is it any way, Mr. Attorney, that they could perhaps sign a release from anything negative that might occur, or someone might get hurt or something, because they're doing it free? And a point the pastor alluded to was, when they came and got charged, she said, Mayor, the amount we got charged, we could have fed X number of people with that amount. So, yeah, I'm that guy again. Certain things we just gotta, if we got a heart, we gotta use it. We're in business, I get all that, but I wanna know tonight, what can we do? How can we structure this thing so it will be fair to those that come into our town or is already in our town and feed our poor and our hungry, free of charge? They don't charge them nothing. And once someone I had a conversation with said, well, what they do, ask for donations. I said, no, they haven't asked for a donation. They don't ask for donations. And these are the people I'm talking about. The people that are not looking for anything in return other than just doing what is right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. A couple quick points. One, I always recommend getting some sort of coverage for anything, because that protects the town. As far as a release, generally, they're not always legally effective. But in this situation, the release is between the organization hosting the event and the town. Usually that's not the concern. If it was handing of food or conducting activities and somebody gets sick or injured, that's the party we don't have a release from. And that's the party that's gonna sue everybody at the line, the organizers of the town. So a release isn't really a viable option.
Okay.
I do recommend, getting insurance for any event. Now, a question was posed about, if an organization already has insurance, does that suffice? And that is correct, and other municipalities as well, we recommend that if the organization has general liability coverage with it, we ask for certificate of insurance to show the amount of coverage they have, and that they add the town of Ayden as an additional insurer on that certificate of insurance that they present with the application. That will suffice. So if an organization does not have general liability insurance, that they can just show to the town that wouldn't cost them any money. This pricing the manager presented, I believe, is for single events. It may be cheaper for the organization to have general liability insurance on the monthly plan that will cover them throughout a year. That'd be less than $75, $100 per unit. So those are the additional options.
Yes, sir.
How does that apply to someone, requesting use of Third Street Park for a birthday party, for instance?
Yeah, that, yes, sir. For example, a birthday party, that would be, I believe I saw it under one, baby shower, banquet, baptism. Yeah, so it's probably under one, and then it would be according to how many people attended the event. But like, for example, Intact, which is under Gather Guard insurance, if it was, less than, 100 people, would be $75.
That's a lot.
Okay. So what do you need from us, Mr. Manager?
You can choose.
Well, we gotta wait for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Staff recommends it, adopting it as is, but if y'all want to tweak it, or if y'all want to, discuss it, we can table it. The only thing is, if you got people waiting, people wait to rent and all, but that's your two options. You can vote, three options. You can vote it as written, you can make changes and then make a motion, or you can table it.
How far in advance do you need to get insurance, say, you're gonna have an activity? How far in advance do you need to get your activity?
We don't have a minimum threshold, we just require that you have it at the time of application.
What did you say all the three options were by insurance?
Yeah, well, your three options tonight, you can vote to accept it as presented, you can,
Table it.
table it, or you can, change something on it and make a motion to accept it, to change.
Attorney, I got a question. If I'm gonna hold a birthday party, say, like the gentleman mentioned, at one of the places in the park, and I'm having kids come out, would my homeowner's insurance cover something like that? If it's off location, or are you required to have a separate policy?
The short answer to that is maybe, because every policy is different. If you believe your homeowner's policy would cover you and your invitees under that policy at a different location, like a picnic shelter or something, if you believe that will cover it, you can call your homeowner's policy and ask them, and if it does, they should issue a COI, and we can get the town names and additional insurance. I don't know that every policy is different.
In the same token of that, let's say you get 5 or 6 people that are meeting out there and they decide kids want to play on the playground and somebody gets hurt.
Assumption of risk.
They brought their own food from Bojangles and they're having a picnic. What's the difference?
Yeah.
It's assumption of risk.
Yeah, like, for example, if it's rented, then you have exclusive use to that property, like picnic shelter or whatever it may be. But if you don't, you can take your food and you can have your kids playing, but other people can come in there and use the facilities too.
But from an insurance perspective, what's the difference?
Well, when you do the event, like I said, you reserve it. In some situations, it may require the police there if it's over so many. Plus, we clean it up and check it so that people can get their deposit back.
So if I invite 25 people and I don't pay y'all to rent it, then it's a moot issue.
Yeah,
I mean,
except, people can come in on your party.
They do anyway, but I know.
Good point.
But if they get hurt in a case like that, they're on their own, right? buy your food from McDonald's and come out there and eat at the park, and something happened to you, town ain't got nothing to do with that.
As far as like food poisoning or something you're saying?
Yeah, unless you walking across the park and trip and hurt your knee or something like that, or fall like you did.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question? So if the church wanted to do Third Street and wanted to do a food giveaway, so we have to pay to rent the facility to make sure that nobody else kind of intruded on that, the cost of the food that we're gonna give away, and then you want to have insurance if we don't already have it. Is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am, not exactly. From what I understand, well, let the manager, you can address that, Mr. Manager.
And I wish I knew the page number right off, but I believe if anybody's on that page, there's 3 columns. And there is the nonprofit. If you choose to get it waived, you'll have to provide us with some kind of a proof that you are a nonprofit, and then you won't have to pay the rental fee. Now, and it hadn't been voted on, but it looks like you may still have to pay for that insurance, but the actual rental fee can be waived if you just meet certain criteria.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can't determine right now what category someone will fall under, like, Pastor Robinson. You can't determine right now what category.
If he can prove that he's nonprofit, which I'm sure they can, then, he can have the rental fees waived.
Right, I get that part.
But the insurance,
You gotta have it.
yeah. If that's the way y'all vote, yeah.
You had a question, Michael?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I was gonna look through here, and in prior board meetings, we did want to waive the nonprofit rental fees, but we did require a deposit.
Yeah.
That was refundable once it's done, just to ensure that the location is cleaned up like it should.
Yeah.
But there was no rental fee for what you do, bringing, food to people. But the insurance was a new thing that we just added. So, I make a motion that we approve, as written, as presented by the town manager, the rental use of town properties and facilities.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lehman.
I said,
Second by Coach Johnny Davis. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, what Coach said.
No, just a quick comment. Just that, as an understanding for us and for y'all is that the insurance requirement is to protect those who are having the event, whether it's a birthday party or whatever, it's to protect you as well as the town, and it protects us. But primarily, it's to protect you from somebody being injured and then faulting you for it. So, I just want to make that clear about it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Items for discussion, probably, y'all have any items for discussion? Good. We'll move right on to information. No information. You have anything you wanna, ask the department heads to assist?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought, we had a warning, like, Mr. Mabel said that his, water bill, sewer bill was excessive. I thought the town had some way of knowing that he was overusing, that his water was being more.
Yes, ma'am, I can utility, but yes, we did see the high usage, and we sent a person out there, as a matter of fact, who talked with Mr. Mabry, standing right beside him.
Okay.
So, yeah, he was notified.
I don't want it to happen to me next time.
My question would be, was it the beginning of the high usage, midway, or after the high usage was the high usage for a while? That's what I was asking.
Okay, all right. Okay, I don't want to happen to me.
Board comments, Coach Davis, Commissioner Coach Davis.
yeah, I just want to, just tell y'all that I appreciate y'all for coming out tonight and share your concerns about these high utility bills. Because I don't know how many of y'all have a mortgage, pay a mortgage, but I do. And you know, anytime you get a daggone light bill that's higher than your house payment, we got a problem. Really. And like the mayor said, that we're gonna work on this thing, you know? We're gonna figure it out one way or the other, but, you know, I got one at the house now for $712. Just paid one for $755. You know, you can't. Hey, I'm on fixed income. I can't get that back. Cause the state gonna send me a certain amount every month. And then my social security gonna come every month. Hey, but hey, that's crazy, man, really. I know my sister lives in Kinston. She got house bigger than mine. Hers ain't never over $250. So something can be done about it. You just got to do it. I don't agree with that guy that came in there and said that don't nobody pay your bill. Because you got to do that, but I mean, that's what the board is for. Try to find a solution for the problems. And believe me, we're going to find one. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach John. Commissioner Goff?
I was really overwhelmed by how many people came tonight and things that they wanted to share with the board. I think it's very important that we do that. The mayor's comments regarding that we share information, that we try to learn from one another. We need to do that. We need to talk. And a lot of things that we see on social media is not always accurate, but we can't respond to that. That's not our role. And legally, we can't respond to that. So that's why you don't see us giving an explanation when somebody on social media makes a claim that isn't accurate. So the best way to find out what's accurate is to call your town manager or your clerk or the assistant town manager, or call one of your commissioners. Any of us, it doesn't have to be in your ward, any of us will listen to what you have to say, investigate what your issue is, and try to find a resolution. And if we can't, we'll tell you that. But, you know, just give the board and give this town an opportunity to assist you in the best way that we can. And we can't do that unless you talk to us. Talking on social media is not going to solve your issues. But talking to the town and talking to us could possibly move it in a positive manner instead of negative. And what I mean negative is negative for the town, negative for the board, and negative for you all, for the citizens. The citizens are getting a bad rap right along with the rest of us. So let's communicate. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Goff?
I'd like to agree with Commissioner Goff and in addition to that, we do want the staff to know that we do appreciate you. And as I stated earlier, I know you are strict thing because you have a lot of responsibility. You have a job title, but under that job title, you have a lot of responsibility, and we appreciate that. And hopefully we'll find enough citizens to serve on these boards, dedicated people, not just get on the board with a name, but people, once they are approved to be on the board, that they will actually work diligently to resolve some of the issues that we have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Pro Tem Landon?
It was really great to see as many people out here this evening. Unfortunately, it was not a pro thing. It was a response to some things going on in our town, but it's good to see everybody. It'd be good to see that every town meeting we had. I I agree with what the commissioners have said tonight, on what's going on in our town. But I think a lot of the things we need to look at too is communication and education. If you go to our website, we've talked about water and we've talked about, our electric bills. If you go to our website, there's a short video at Ayden.com. I was trying to look and see if I could find the exact way to get there, because it is a little, I don't wanna say confusing, but to get there, you can sign up through the website. After you view the video, it tells you what you can do, how to look at your usage on your residence with your account number. So you can actually go in, and I've got it set up now to where I'm monitoring my usage on my electric. Now the water is not real time, it's gonna fluctuate, but your electric is. You can see how much electricity you're using per day. I've had several people come into and talk to me, and I had one young lady, very kind lady, has 3 children, and she could not understand why her bill in, say, December was X amount of dollars, and then in January, it was X amount of dollars, and she keeps her thermostat set at the same temperature. I explained a few things. Number one, your thermostat setting at 72, and hers was 72. If you keep it set at 72, your electric bill is going to be lower if it's 55 outside. But if if the outside temperature is 20 degrees, that heat pump is going to run a lot more, so your electric bill is going to go up. So you might need to adjust our thermostats down when the temperature is really low to not consume as much energy. And another thing I mentioned to her is we do, I think the mayor mentioned it and staff has mentioned it, the Town of Ayden does have energy audits, so you can get with the town, someone to come out and look and see what's using most of your energy. So hopefully you can deter some of that away. One of the biggest thieves of your energy bill is when your heat pump is messing up and you're running on emergency heat. If you have a thermostat that says that, that's a good thing. If it says emergency, that means your heat strips are running and your utility bill is going to go sky high. I've been a victim twice of that in the last 2 years, running on heat strips for about 60 days, and my bill went way up. I do know that the administrative, the staff is working on this, if I'm not mistaken, Marsha, that we are working on getting to where these excessive use goes up. We'll have someone see that. Now water, again, not real time, but it should not take 50,000 gallons of water to go out, because 50,000 can't go out in one day. Well, it could, but it had to be a major leak. But if you know that I'm using 2,500 gallons a month, 2,500 gallons a month, and you see that I've used 3,000 gallons in 3 days, something's wrong. So we should have things in place to notify the residents that we've got excessive usage. And the same thing goes with the utilities. I know you guys are working on it for training, if I'm not mistaken, to be able to call the residents when there's excessive usage. Is that correct?
We're working on it. Right now, we're still in the marketing phase of 4 to 2, and we do have someone that's trying to work with NextGrid, and there is still a lot of people working on the water portal to get that uploaded. We were running into a few issues, but they're addressing them.
Okay,
but
as
yeah,
long as we're working on it,
we are
we're
definitely
doing due
working on it.
diligence, and we'll get there. So there are things in place that the Town of Ayden has done to help our residents. So hopefully we can get where we need to be and have those in place. That's all I have, sir.
Mayor, I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
remember we need to include ETTA people when we do the committee. Do I need
Correct.
to redo the vote? Do I need to redo my motion?
I wouldn't think so. What you think, Attorney? Include ETJ?
I think it's part of the process of forming a committee, we had discussion, and we can bring back a plan and final list to approve.
Okay. All right, I'll try to make mine brief, I'll tell you. The history of Ayden utilities. How did we get in the place that we are now? there's some history. And I would, suggest to each and every one of you, kind of do a little history on this thing. We have rebounded from some things that were signed a long time ago. I tell people all the time that it's not like, when you, sign on to these contracts, utility providers, contracts of utility providers. It's not like you're signing on for a car. For 3 years or 5 years, it's paid off. Most of them are extended 20 years, some 25, 30 years. So we're rebounding from some things way back there, believe me. Not making excuses, just making you knowledgeable so that you'll know how to handle the naysayers as you move forward. I've talked to other mayors. They have the same problem. And I'm not putting y'all down, but a lot of their citizens don't talk about us like some of our citizens talk about. They don't go up and blast them out. But like I said before, if you would take their utility bill and see what they're getting charged, you're gonna see that they're right there in the ballpark if they include some of the other services. That's the truth. That's the truth. Nothing but the truth. Mr. Clerk and I, we had worked on some flyers, so when you come down, and he's so busy doing some of everything, trying to make us a better town, where if you don't know who the commissioner is, and Commissioner Goff did excellent explaining the procedures and getting things done, at least know who your commissioner is. That's what you voted for. At least, in other words, you can go to Commissioner Connor or anybody on this board, and they're going to help you. But Commissioner Goff, if you stay in her ward, she would be more familiar with her ward than anyone else. So why not go to her? You say, well, I don't know who my commissioner. Well, Jeremy, our clerk, and myself, we have put together a thing, and he drew it up just perfectly so that you can talk to your commissioner. That's what we're here when we're trying to do God and crazy stuff. So you can talk to us so we can get some of this, so we can get straight, people. That's what I'm trying to say. The emergency script, I had a talk with Miss Lucia the other day, interesting talk with her, and I saw some things, and she showed me some graphs that made me kind of like, oh, I didn't know it really went like that. And she was also the one that talked to me about the thermostats. And I went home and I looked up different thermostats, and believe me, guys, you start looking at different thermostats, some of those thermostats have an emergency heat right beside the heat. And now need heat. And if you don't have you need them and don't have yours on, you probably make the same mistake as like Mayor Pro Tem said. You can move that thing, the next thing you know, you're drawing off emergency heat and you've forgotten all about it. I'm not saying that is the sole reason of our utility situation, but certainly it's worth looking into. And please take me up on electricity. Marcia spoke about that, how to go about get to that. And I want to say one more thing. Free of charge, people. Glorious Fine Sisters will be at the Doug Mitchell Auditorium Friday night. This group won the North Carolina Heritage Award. That's a big deal. So please, everybody's welcome. Get a chance to mingle. I like all kind of gospel music, but it'll give you a chance to mingle with them and some other people too, free of charge. Bring your family out. The music kind of gonna make you clap your hands and stomp your feet, but bring them out. That's all I have. I thank all of, oh yeah, didn't write that one down. Thanks. It'll be at 6 p.m.
6 o'clock.
Yes, sir. So if you're not well, regardless if you're doing anything, you really need to get the district. Down at the Ops Center, 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we're going to bring some people in. Mrs. Beach Carter, she's very knowledgeable about things that we don't know here in Ayden. They probably don't know on the county level, and some people on the state level don't know. It's going to show us how to get some grants to better our town. You don't have to be a business person. Now, what happens is these other towns be getting this stuff. That's why it's important for myself and the board to go and travel to learn what's out there. And if we don't go and find out stuff, we're going to be lagging behind. So by the grace of God, she's going to be here. And hopefully we have a good turnout and you can go back and spread the word and everybody can benefit by it. Mr. Manager, you have anything? Okay, that's all I have. Thank y'all again.
So was that last item table?
Ma'am?
Was that last item table?
What you said?
No.
Yeah, last. That was approved. Okay, I need a, so Commissioner Carter moved that he did, is adjourned, Mayor Pro Tem seconded.
Yeah,
Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying
But I
aye.
wasn't sure.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Tony, for bearing with us. Appreciate it. Woo!
I just had my unit service after I got that. That's my thing. I'm really not comfortable.
All right, God bless you, appreciate you.
But then when you both back, you know, they run straight down the hard too, so that's why ain't no good. Ain't no good way.
So, this is very serious thing. We'll take, I'm gonna coach you. Coach me down, just tell me what you
He has much fun as I did.